Chapter 1. Before the Storm. Sophia Lee always said that the best part of her day started the moment she saw Jaxon Reeves waiting for her by the old oak tree behind their school. It was their spot, where he'd lean his bike against the trunk, hands in his pockets, pretending to be cool, only to melt into a grin the second she appeared. "Hey, princess," he said, voice warm enough to make her forget everything else. Sophia rolled her eyes every time he used the nickname, but her heart betrayed her, beating faster in a way she hoped he never noticed. She walked up to him and slipped her hand into his, feeling that familiar comfort she hadn't found anywhere else. "You look tired," he said, brushing a thumb across her cheek. "That meeting with your parents went that bad?" Sophia sighed. She didn't want to ruin their morning, but Jaxon always saw through her. "Same story," she murmured. "They think we should focus on our futures, on the Lee legacy, not on teenage distractions." Jason's jaw tightened, but he didn't push her. He never did. "Well," he said after a moment, forcing a smile, "I'm pretty sure I'm the best distraction you've ever had." She laughed, heavily, softly, like the sun breaking through early morning clouds. And that was enough for him. They headed to class hand in hand, ignoring the whispers that always followed them. Everyone knew who Sophia was, the polished daughter of one of the wealthiest business families in the city. And everyone knew who Jaxon was, the boy who spent his weekends helping his parents at their family cafe, who rode an old motorbike and worked part-time at a mechanic shop. They were opposites, and somehow that made them perfect. After school, Jaxon led her behind the bleachers where no teachers could see. Sophia raised a brow. "What are you up to?" He scratched the back of his neck, suddenly shy. Jaxon Reeves, confident, playful, fearless, was nervous. That surprised her. I wanted to give you something." Sophia tilted her head. "Jaxon, you didn't have to." "I wanted to." He reached into his jean pocket, pulling out a tiny velvet pouch. "I've been saving for it for months." Her breath hitched. "Jaxon, it's nothing fancy," he said quickly, embarrassed. "Just something to remind you that no matter what anyone says, we're ours." He opened the pouch and revealed a delicate silver necklace with a tiny crescent moon. Pendant, simple, beautiful, thoughtful, like everything he did. Sophia's eyes watered. "Jaxon, this is perfect." He swallowed hard. "Really?" She nodded, voice shaking. "Put it on me?" Jaxon stepped behind her, his fingers trembling slightly as he fastened the chain around her neck. The cool metal touched her skin, and she felt a strange flutter, warm, deep, and certain. "Looks better on you than I imagined," he whispered. She turned and wrapped her arms around him, pressing her face to his chest. "I'll wear it every day." And she meant it. Jaxon cupped her face, brushing a kiss to her forehead before leaning down to kiss her properly. Slow, careful, full of the kind of love that didn't feel teenage at all. It felt like forever. They strolled the long way to her house, fingers intertwined. Jaxon walked her up to her driveway, where the mansion's iron gates stood tall like a warning. "I'll see you tomorrow?" he asked. Sophia smiled. "You'll always see me." Jaxon looked at her like she was the only beautiful thing that had ever existed. "Good," he whispered, "because I don't think I could ever stop choosing you." Sophia touched the necklace. Neither of them knew how much this small piece of silver would come to mean. Neither of them knew this chapter of their life was already ticking toward its end. But for now, they had each other. Simple, warm, whole, before the storm that would tear their world apart. Chapter 2. Pressure Points. The trouble began quietly. A comment here, a cold tone there, a sudden tension in the air whenever Sophia mentioned Jaxon's name. At first she brushed it off. Her parents had always been strict, obsessed with appearances, alliances, and the Lee family empire, but lately the shift was sharper, more deliberate, and it showed most clearly at their dining table. "Sophia, we need to talk," her father said, placing down his fork with the kind of finality she knew meant trouble. Her mother folded her hands, expression poised but cold. "We've let this go on long enough," she said. "Your relationship with that boy, Jaxon Reeves." Sophia's heart dropped. She kept her voice steady. "Jaxon is my boyfriend." "Exactly," her father replied. "Which is precisely the problem." Sophia gripped the armrest of her chair. "Why?" Her parents exchanged a look, one of those silent conversations only long-married couples could have. Then her father said, "Because his family is not on our level." They run a small cafe. They have no influence, no stability, no future that aligns with ours. Sophia's jaw tightened. That's unfair. They work hard. They're good people. Her mother sighed dramatically. Good people don't build empires, Sophia. And we didn't raise you to throw your future away for a teenage crush, her father added. Sophia flinched. That teenage crush means everything to me. Her father's voice hardened. You will end this. Sophia stood up, shaking with anger. No, I won't. Sophia, I love him, she snapped, shocking them both. And you can't make me stop. Her mother's expression snapped into something icy, calculating. Then we'll take matters into our own hands, she said softly. For your own good. Sophia left the table, her heart pounding, feeling the first true crack in the world she thought was stable. While Sophia endured pressure at home, Jason was dealing with problems he didn't understand. It started with a phone call. Jason, I need you home, his father said, voice strained. Jason rushed from school, pedaling his bike faster than he ever had. When he arrived, he saw his parents standing outside the cafe, faces pale. What's going on? His mother held a letter, hands trembling. We're being sued, Jason. What? Why? By who? His father swallowed hard. The Lee Corporation. Jason froze. The name punched the breath out of him. No, that can't be right. Sophia would never... She may not know, his mother said gently. But her family does. They filed a lawsuit claiming the cafe had violated a zoning regulation, an obscure rule no one had enforced in decades. But with the right lawyers and enough money, even the smallest thing could become a weapon. Jason felt something crack inside his chest. Later that night, Jason showed up at Sophia's window just before midnight, tapping lightly. She opened it, eyes red from crying, and he climbed in. The moment he saw her face, his heart broke a little more. What happened? He whispered. My parents, she choked out. They want me to break up with you. They said they'll do whatever it takes. Jason swallowed hard. Soph, they already did. She gasped. What do you mean? Jason explained everything, the lawsuit, the threat to their cafe, the financial pressure piling up. Sophia's face drained of color. No, they wouldn't, Jason, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Jason cupped her face. I know. And I don't blame you. But I blame them, she whispered fiercely. I swear I'll fix this. Jason wanted to believe that. He wanted to believe love was enough to fight a war. But when Sophia broke down and cried into his chest, he felt an unfamiliar fear take root in his heart. A question he didn't dare say out loud. What if love isn't enough against a family with that much power? Sophia finally calmed enough to meet his eyes. Jason, whatever happens, I'm not letting you go. You hear me? I'll fight them until they understand. Jason kissed her forehead, the same way he always did, when he was trying not to fall apart. I'm not letting go either, he said softly. And they held each other tightly, both hoping the world would stop pushing. Neither of them knew that this was only the beginning. Of heartbreak, of betrayal, and of a revenge that would one day reshape the entire city. Chapter 3. Cracks Becoming Fault Lines. The days following the lawsuit felt like walking through smoke. Everything blurry, heavy, and impossible to breathe through. Jason tried to stay strong. Sophia tried to stay hopeful. But the world around them was shifting faster than they could hold it together. Jason was used to seeing his father determined. Hard-working. Tired, yes, but proud. Now he seemed smaller. As Jason helped wipe down the counters one afternoon, he noticed the way his father's hands shook while writing down the numbers from their dwindling sales. We'll get through this, Jason said, trying to sound confident. His father gave him a tired, thin smile. I've been telling myself that for weeks. Jason froze. For weeks? His mother sighed softly from across the room. Your father didn't want to worry you. Jason stared between them. What else is going on? They exchanged a look of guilt. His father finally spoke. They've also pressured our suppliers. Some won't work with us anymore, afraid of upsetting the lease. Sophia's family wasn't just fighting. They were dismantling. Jason's stomach twisted. Why would they go this far? To separate you two, his mother said softly. And they don't care who gets destroyed in the process. Meanwhile, Sophia's parents doubled their surveillance. Her phone was confiscated. Her school driver was instructed to pick her up immediately after class. She wasn't allowed to walk home anymore or visit friends, especially not Jason. They turned her life into a locked schedule. Her mother would step into her room unexpectedly, as if Sophia were some fragile object that needed constant checking. "You'll understand one day," her mother said one night as she stood in the doorway. "This is for your own future." "It's not your future," Sophia shot back. "It's mine." Her mother's eyes hardened. "Everything you have comes from us. Do not forget that." The unspoken threat hung heavy in the air. "We can take everything away." Sophia stood in her room after the door shut, shaking with anger and helplessness. Every breath hurt. She touched the necklace Jason gave her, the only thing that kept her sane. It had been 4 days since Sophia last saw Jason. 4 days too long. So she ran. She slipped out after midnight, climbed down from her balcony, and sprinted the few blocks to Jason's neighborhood. It was risky. If her parents found out, the consequences would be catastrophic, but nothing mattered except seeing him. Jason was outside, sitting on the curb with his head in his hands, when he heard her footsteps. "Sophia?" he whispered, stunned. The second she saw him, she broke into a run. He rose to his feet just in time for her to crash into him, arms wrapping around him like she was afraid he might disappear. "I missed you," she mumbled, voice muffled against his chest. Jason held her tightly, burying his face in her hair. "I missed you more." But the relief only lasted a heartbeat. Sophia pulled back enough to see his face, and she saw the exhaustion, the worry lines that weren't there before. "Jason, what's happening? Please tell me everything." So he did, everything. By the time he finished, Sophia's legs felt like they couldn't hold her. "This is my fault," she whispered, horrified. "If it weren't for me—" "Don't," Jason interrupted, gripping her shoulders. "This is not on you. Your family made this choice. But I brought you into this mess." "No," he said firmly. "You brought me into your heart. Not this." Sophia burst into tears. Jason pulled her into him again, but there was a heaviness in his chest he couldn't shake. It happened when they finally sat down on the curb together. Sophia sniffed. "Jason, maybe I can talk to my parents again. Maybe if I—" "You already tried," he said, voice bitter before he could stop it. Sophia stiffened. "I know, but I can try harder." "How much harder, Soph?" he snapped. "They're destroying my family's whole life. And you still think talking will fix it?" Sophia flinched as if struck. "Jason, please don't be angry at me." He closed his eyes, guilt washing over him. "I'm not angry at you," he whispered. "I'm angry at everything." But the damage was already done. A tiny fracture formed between them. Sophia's voice wavered. "I'm doing everything I can." Jason ran a hand through his hair, looking away. I know. It's just, everything's crashing down, Soph." She reached for his hand. "Then we'll hold on together." He squeezed back, but something inside him felt like sand slipping through fingers. Just before sunrise, Sophia prepared to sneak back home. Jason walked her halfway, stopping at a corner where cameras wouldn't catch her. She kissed him softly, trying to memorize his warmth. "Jason, no matter what happens, promise me you won't give up on us." He hesitated only a second. "Never." But as she walked away, he whispered something he never wanted her to hear. "I don't know how long I can keep fighting a war we can't win." Sophia turned back once more, gripping her necklace as if it were a lifeline. Neither noticed the black car parked across the street, one of the Lee family's guards watching silently. And reporting. Chapter 4. The Fall Begins. The next week unfolded like a slow-motion nightmare. Each day brought a new blow, another crack in a world already tearing apart. Jason kept trying to hold the pieces together. Sophia kept trying to push back against her family. But the Lee Corporation had already decided the ending. The lawsuit was only step 1. 2 days later, Jason's father received notice that their cafe's lease would not be renewed. No explanation. No negotiation. Just a single line. The property will be reclaimed by the owner. Jason's father stared at the paper like it was written in another language. "But I've operated here for almost 20 years, he whispered. Jason clenched his fists. "Who owns this building?" His mother answered quietly. "A shell company bought it last month, and it traces back to the Lee Investment Group. Sophia's family." Jason felt his stomach twist. "They're not just trying to separate us," he said through gritted teeth. "They're trying to erase us." His father leaned heavily on the counter, looking older than Jason had ever seen him. "We don't have the money for a new location," he said quietly. If we lose this cafe, we lose everything. Jason felt something crack inside him. At the Lee mansion, Sophia's world shrank into a gilded cage. After the guard reported seeing her with Jason, her parents enacted a new rule. She was not allowed out of the house without supervision. Her room became a prison. Her window was locked. Her phone replaced with one monitored by her mother. When she tried to argue, her father's voice was cold steel. Every time you disobey, we will tighten the consequences. You will end this childish attachment. Sophia stood frozen. Attachment? I love him. Exactly why we must intervene, her mother replied. Love makes smart girls foolish. Sophia's voice shook. You're destroying innocent people. Her father's brow arched. And yet, you continue to disobey. You brought this upon them. Sophia felt air leave her lungs. That accusation hurt deeper than any punishment. I hate this, she whispered. I hate all of this. Her mother stepped closer, voice low. You will thank us one day. But Sophia knew she never would. 3 nights later, Jason struggled to focus during their late-night inventory. His father's breathing sounded strained, and his mother kept wringing her hands. Jason tried to lighten the mood. Hey, we'll figure it out. I promise. His father didn't answer. Jason placed the clipboard down. Dad? His father finally met his eyes. There's more, he said quietly. Our bank loan was rescinded. Someone flagged us as a risk. Jason felt the room spin. Without that loan, the cafe couldn't survive the next few weeks. Was it them? Jason whispered. His mother nodded, tears filling her eyes. Your father tried everything, Jason, everything. Jason felt fire burn through him. Anger, helplessness, rage, all twisting into something sharp. This is because of me, he said. Because I'm with Sophia. His father shook his head. Don't say that. This isn't your fault. But Jason couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My choices destroyed us. His father placed a trembling hand on Jason's shoulder. Son, listen to me. But he didn't finish. Pain shot across his chest. He staggered. Dad? Jason caught him just as he collapsed. Hours blurred. Sirens, nurses, lights that hurt Jason's eyes. Sophia wasn't allowed to leave her house. She didn't know Jason's father had collapsed. Didn't know her family's actions had pushed a man to the edge. Jason sat outside the emergency room, hands shaking, replaying every moment, every argument, every pressure point. A doctor finally walked out. Jason stood. Is he okay? Please tell me he's okay. The doctor sighed. We did everything we could. The world stopped. He suffered a massive heart attack. Jason's legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, silent, shaking, and the doctor delivered the blow that would haunt him forever. I'm sorry. He didn't make it. Jason's breath broke. His world shattered. His mother's scream echoed down the hallway. A sound, so raw Jason felt it carve into his bones. He couldn't cry. He couldn't speak. He could only sit there, staring at the wall, as his heart cracked open. The next morning, Sophia overheard a conversation outside her room. Her parents' voices, calm, cold. The Reeves family? Yes, the father passed away last night. Sophia froze. Passed away? Her mother continued, voice steady. This will accelerate the collapse. They'll be forced to sell assets. Good. End this quickly. Sophia's blood ran cold. Her father added, and keep an eye on the girl. She'll try to contact him. Sophia felt her knees go weak. Jason, his family, his father. Her heart raced in terror. She grabbed her necklace, gripping it so hard the edges dug into her palm. She had to get out. She had to go to him. She had to tell him she didn't know. Didn't want any of this. Didn't choose any of this. She had to tell him she loved him. But the door handle wouldn't budge. Locked. Her parents had imprisoned her while Jason was living the worst day of his life. Sophia sank to the floor, sobbing silently, clutching the necklace he gave her as if it could keep him alive somehow. Jason didn't sleep for 2 days. He stood at his father's funeral like a ghost, numb, empty. People whispered that it was stress, a heart attack, bad luck. But Jason knew the truth. The Lees had killed his father, not with a weapon, but with power, and something inside him hardened. That night, Jason looked at his own reflection and didn't recognize himself. I'll never be powerless again, he whispered to the empty room. His voice was cold, his eyes darker. It was the first seed of revenge. Chapter 5, Fire in the Dark. The weeks after Jason's father's funeral were a blur of grief and chaos. Sophia was still under virtual house arrest, cut off from him completely. Jason, meanwhile, was drowning under the weight of loss, debt, and the slow unraveling of everything he'd ever known. But nothing could have prepared them for the night the fire came. The small house. Jason grew up and felt unbearably empty now. His father's tools untouched. His chair still pulled out at the table, his voice echoing in Jason's memory with every breath. His mother barely spoke anymore. Her grief was too deep, too heavy. Jason tried to be strong for her, but he was barely holding on himself. One evening, as they sat in silence, she whispered, "I'm sorry, Jason." He looked up sharply. "Mom, why would you say that?" She stared at her hands. "If I had encouraged you to end it with Sophia earlier, maybe your father would still be alive." Jason's chest tightened painfully. No, don't say that. None of this is your fault." She gave him a fragile smile. But Jason could see the guilt eating her alive. Sophia had reached her limit. Every day without Jason felt like her heart was being ripped open. She could barely sleep or eat. Her parents monitored every call, every message. She was suffocating. She tried everything to reach him. Letters through friends. Notes dropped outside her gate. None reached him. And tonight she couldn't take it anymore. She waited until her house was quiet, grabbed her coat, climbed down her balcony again, and sprinted toward Jason's neighborhood, heart pounding. She didn't know what she would find. She only knew she had to see him. Smoke reached Jason before flames did. He'd been in his room, staring blankly at the wall. When he smelled it, sharp, alarming, wrong. "Mom?" he called. No answer. He ran out of his room and froze. A thick cloud of smoke rolled through the hallway. His heart slammed against his ribs. "Mom!" he shouted, sprinting toward her room. But flames were already spreading across the kitchen, crackling violently. Heat blasted him backward. He tried to push through. But a sudden explosion from the back corner of the house sent a wave of force that knocked him to the ground. His lungs burned. His vision blurred. He tried to stand, but the smoke was too thick, his breath too shallow, and just before he collapsed, he heard her voice scream his name. "Jason!" Then everything went black. By the time neighbors noticed the flames, the house was fully engulfed. Firefighters rushed in, trying desperately to find survivors. They found Jason's mother near the back door, collapsed, unbreathing. They carried her out, but it was already too late. They searched for Jason too, but the fire had grown too dangerous. A charred beam had collapsed near his room. By morning, the officials made a declaration that broke the entire neighborhood. Jason Reeves is presumed dead. Sophia was still running when she saw the glow. At first, she thought it was a street light. Then she heard the sirens, saw the crowd, smelled the smoke. Her heart stopped. "No," she whispered. She pushed past people, ignored the yelling, ran straight toward the burning house. But a firefighter grabbed her before she could reach the flames. "Miss, you can't go in there." "Jason!" she screamed, trying to break free. "Jason's inside! He's inside!" Her voice cracked, raw with terror. People stared. Some recognized her. Some whispered. But all she could see was the inferno. Another firefighter stepped forward cautiously. "Ma'am, we found his mother." Sophia's sob tore through the night. "And the boy?" Sophia grabbed him. "Where is he? Is he okay?" "Tell me he's okay." The firefighter hesitated. Swallowed. We didn't find him. It's too dangerous. He's presumed—" "No," she screamed. "Don't say it. Don't you dare say it!" But the tears welling in the firefighter's eyes told her everything. Sophia fell to her knees. Her screams echoed across the street. Jason, her first love, gone, but Jason wasn't dead. Someone had dragged him out of the burning house through a back alley. A stranger whose face he barely saw through the smoke. Jason coughed violently, barely conscious. "You're alive," the stranger said, checking his pulse. "Stay awake." Jason tried, but passing out was easier. He woke up in an unfamiliar car, wrapped in an old blanket. The world spinning, his chest burning from smoke inhalation. Why did you save me?" he croaked. The man didn't look at him. "Because you deserved a chance to fight back." Jason didn't understand. But when he saw the flames devouring his home through the rear window, when he realized his mother didn't make it, when he heard the sirens and saw Sophia's silhouette in the distance, something inside him broke so deeply it could never be repaired. He was supposed to die tonight. Maybe he had died. Because whatever remained of him was no longer the boy Sophia knew. It was something colder, hardened, without a home, a family, or a past to protect. Where are we going? Jason whispered. The man finally answered. Somewhere you can start over. The Lee family watched the news the next morning. Her mother said nothing, only turned off the TV with a sigh. What a tragedy. Her father nodded. Let this be the end of this chapter. Sophia must move on. But Sophia didn't move at all. She stayed in her room for days. Barely spoke. Barely breathed. She clutched her necklace every night until her hand bruised, praying it would anchor her to the boy she lost. Jason, I wish you knew I never wanted this. I wish you knew I loved you until your last breath. She didn't know that somewhere else. Jason was breathing, just not as her Jason anymore. Jaxon Reeves was gone, and in his place, a new name would soon rise. Jaxon Reed, a name with no past, no weakness, no tears, a name made of revenge. Chapter 6, Rebirth in the Shadows. Jason didn't dream during the first few nights after the fire. He didn't remember falling asleep. He didn't feel rest. All he felt was the lingering weight of smoke in his lungs, and the crushing heaviness of knowing he had nothing left, nothing but pain. And pain, he was starting to learn, could be sharpened into purpose. He finally woke in a small apartment. Spare, clean, completely unfamiliar. Bandages wrapped his ribs and shoulder. A cup of water sat beside the bed. The stranger from the fire sat at a desk, leaning back in a chair, reading a stack of documents. Jason tried to sit up. Pain shot through him like fire. The man didn't look up. You're awake. Jason swallowed. His voice was hoarse. Who are you? The man closed the folder and finally met his eyes. My name doesn't matter, he said. But yours does. Jason blinked. What do you mean? You can't go back, the man said simply. Your house is gone. Your mother is gone. The authorities have declared you dead. And the people who caused all of this? The man's eyes darkened. They want you forgotten. Jason felt nausea rise in his throat. He squeezed his fist to keep from breaking down. Why did you save me? Jason whispered, voice cracking. The man leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Because I've seen people like the Lees before. People who think power gives them the right to destroy anyone they want. He paused. And because I saw something in you. Something that could rise far beyond what they ever imagined. Jason stared at him, shaking. I don't want power. No, the man corrected gently. You want justice. Jason froze. You want revenge. Jason didn't answer, but the silence was loud enough. Days passed with slow recovery and long conversations. The stranger wasn't just some passerby. He was a man with connections, resources, and a personal vendetta against people who abused power. A man who saw potential in Jason's pain. You need to disappear, he said one evening. Completely. No one can know you're alive. Jason exhaled shakily. But Sophia, the man cut him off. The Lees will use her to destroy you again. They already used her once. Jason flinched. I know, the man continued, that you love her. But the world she comes from is poison. And right now, she is your greatest weakness. Jason stared at the floor, breathing hard. He had already lost his father. He had lost his mother. He had lost his home, his future, his name. And Sophia, the one he loved more than anything, was now the person he could never return to. Not until he could face her without being powerless. What am I supposed to do? He whispered. The stranger slid a folder toward him. In here is the documentation for a new identity, one no one can trace. Jason opened it slowly. The name on the first page made him go still. Jaxon Reed. He whispered it aloud. The sound felt foreign, sharp, dangerous. That's who you'll become, the man said. If you want your life back, you build it from nothing. Jason closed the folder, jaw tight. Jason Reeves died in that fire, the man said. But Jaxon Reed, he can become anything. He can make the Lees regret every breath they stole from you. Jason's hands trembled, but for the first time since the night of the fire, he felt something like purpose. The stranger, whose name Jason eventually learned was Marcus Hale, wasn't just well-connected. He was a mastermind. He got Jaxon enrolled in specialized programs, trained him himself, introduced him to people who operated in shadows, in boardrooms, in places where real power was built. Jaxon learned everything. Corporate law, financial manipulation, market strategy, high-level negotiations, psychological influence, personal discipline. Physical defense and control. The art of patience. He became sharper, colder, smarter. Marcus would sometimes watch him work with a small, knowing smile. "You're going to surpass us all, kid." Jaxon never smiled back. He didn't do smiles anymore. He only did goals. And he had one. Destroy the Lees. Quietly. Completely. Perfectly. While Jaxon rebuilt himself, Sophia broke. She stopped going out unless required. Stopped smiling. Stopped dreaming. She wore Jason's necklace every day, the crescent moon resting against her heart like a scar that refused to fade. Her parents called it stubbornness. Friends called it grief. But she called it truth. She had loved one man, and she had lost him because of the very people meant to protect her. She threw herself into work, school, internships, business courses. She became sharper, harder, and colder too. She didn't know it, but she and Jason were changing in parallel, shaped by the same pain, just on opposite sides of the world. On the 5th anniversary of the fire, Jaxon stood on the balcony of his penthouse, one he had earned. Through ruthless deals, brilliant strategies, and endless discipline, he had built a new empire, a new name, a new life, but the past still burned in his veins. Marcus joined him silently. "You're ready," he said. "Ready for what?" Jaxon asked. Marcus smirked. "To go home." Jaxon looked out at the skyline, eyes cold. "I'm not going back to remember," he said. "I'm going back to collect what's owed." Marcus clapped a hand on his shoulder. "And what about the girl?" Jaxon paused. The wind shifted. The night held its breath. Finally, he answered, "That depends on which side she stands on when everything falls apart." Chapter 7. The Ghost in the Boardroom. 5 years had passed since the night everything changed. Sophia Lee had grown into a woman the world respected. Sharp-eyed, fearless in negotiation, and a rising leader within the Lee Corporation. Her heart, however, had never healed. She still wore Jason's necklace every day, tucked under her blouses during meetings and resting against her heart every night. The world thought she was driven, focused, determined, but Sophia knew the truth. She was hiding, working herself to exhaustion so she wouldn't have to feel. She didn't know that her past was already reaching for her. Not through memories, but through the name that had begun appearing everywhere. A name she had never heard. Jaxon Reed. It started subtly. A deal that the Lees were certain to close suddenly shifted to another bidder. A long-term partner backed out of a major arrangement with no warning. A supplier with a 20-year relationship announced they were ending their contract. Every time the legal team investigated, every trail, every shift, every change led back to one name. Jaxon Reed Enterprises. Investors whispered it in corridors. Board members exchanged worried glances. Competitors stiffened. The name moved like a ghost, appearing on contracts, in acquisitions, on bidding documents, silently swallowing opportunities from underneath them. Sophia's father grew more frustrated by the day. "Who the hell is this man?" He barked one afternoon during a board meeting. No one answered, until the CFO carefully cleared his throat. We have limited public information. He keeps his profile low, very low, but his success the last 3 years is unprecedented." Sophia watched the room tighten with anxiety. Her mother leaned forward. "What do we know?" Reed specializes in aggressive corporate takeovers. Every company he enters, he dominates, efficiently, quietly, and without mercy. Investors love him. His returns are extraordinary. Sophia frowned. "And his background?" The CFO swallowed. "That's the strange part. Before 5 years ago, nothing, no records, no history, no trace. It's like the man appeared out of thin air." Sophia stiffened without knowing why. 5 years ago, the exact year Jason died. Her fingers brushed her necklace unconsciously. She didn't understand the feeling clawing inside her chest, but something about the timeline unsettled her. Over the next 2 weeks, everything escalated. Another investor pulled out. 2 board members resigned suddenly. A potential merger dissolved overnight. Every loss came with the same final line in the reports. Acquired by JR Holdings, parent company Reed Global. Sophia's father slammed his office door so hard one afternoon that the entire floor fell silent. Her mother stormed into Sophia's workspace minutes later, heels sharp, voice tight with panic. "Sophia, boardroom, now." Sophia followed her quickly. "Sophia, boardroom, now." Sophia followed her quickly. Inside, the board members looked rattled, fear clinging to their expressions. Sophia's father turned toward her sharply. "We need you to do something for the company." Sophia blinked. What? Her father clenched his jaw. Jaxon Reed's influence is spreading faster than anticipated. He's poaching our partners, undermining our deals, and slowly tightening a net around our operations. Sophia felt the air shift. It wasn't just concern, it was fear. Her mother cut in. Our entire corporation is at risk. We need someone to make contact with him. Her father nodded. You will request a meeting with Reed, immediately. Sophia stared at them. Me? Why me? Because you're our strongest negotiator, her mother said. And because Reed seems to invest in ventures involving young innovators. Approaching him through you gives us the best chance. Sophia shook her head slowly. You want me to beg him not to ruin us? Her father snapped. Don't be dramatic. We want you to be strategic. Her mother's gaze hardened. Sophia, if we don't get this man on our side, if we don't convince him we're allies instead of targets, everything our family built will crumble. Sophia's throat tightened. For the first time in years, her parents sounded afraid. And if I refuse? She asked quietly. Her father's expression turned cold. You won't. We know you care about this family. You know what's at stake. Her mother stepped closer, lowering her voice. You will contact Jaxon Reed, and you will get on his good side. Because if you don't, she paused, letting the fear settle. We will lose everything. Sophia's heart pounded. She didn't know who this Jaxon Reed really was. A man with no past. A man who rose from shadows. A man powerful enough to dismantle an empire like theirs. But something deep inside her. Something she had locked away for years. Whispered uneasily. 5 years ago. No records before that. A sudden rise from nowhere. Her fingers tightened around the necklace under her blouse. It was probably nothing. Just her heart trying to attach meaning where there was none. And yet, no matter how she tried to silence it, the thought wouldn't leave her. Why does the name Jaxon Reed make my chest hurt? Chapter 8. The Man at the Head of the Table. The emergency board meeting had already been tense before the doors opened. Every executive, every investor, every longtime member of the Lee Corporation sat stiffly in their leather chairs, voices low, eyes flicking anxiously toward the clock. They were waiting for him, the man whose name had haunted their last 6 quarterly reports, the man who seemed to steal their business partners with a whisper, the man no one had ever negotiated with, and survived unchanged. Jaxon Reed. Sophia sat near the far end of the long conference table, her posture composed but her mind restless. Her father insisted she be present. It was critical she see him. Strategic she make an impression. She didn't understand why her heart kept racing. It wasn't fear. It wasn't nerves. It was something older, something she tried to bury 5 years ago. The room holds its breath. The double doors finally opened. Everyone stopped talking. A tall man entered, broad-shouldered, dressed in a flawless black suit, exuding a controlled confidence that made the entire room straighten involuntarily. His steps were slow, measured, purposeful. His presence changed the temperature of the air. He didn't rush. He didn't look around nervously. He didn't need to. A storm doesn't announce itself. It simply arrives. Sophia's breath hitched. From where she sat, he was mostly a silhouette against the window light. Sharp jawline, cold eyes she couldn't quite see, a powerful aura that quieted every heartbeat in the room. He was introduced formally. Everyone, allow me to welcome the CEO of Reed Global. Mr. Jaxon Reed. A simple nod was all he gave. But his eyes, dark, unreadable, swept across the table for a brief second, and people flinched as if he'd seen straight through them. When his gaze passed over her, something strange happened. It stopped. Only for half a breath, barely. Noticeable to anyone else, but enough for Sophia's pulse to spike painfully. His eyes lingered. Deep, dark. Searching, her fingers instinctively touched her necklace beneath the table. No, it couldn't be. Jason was gone. This man was older, colder, carved from steel and fire, not softness and warmth. But the shape of his jaw, the way he held his shoulders, that quiet intensity, it felt like a memory she wasn't allowed to touch. Sophia swallowed hard, trying to force reason into her scattered thoughts. But reason failed her when Jaxon Reed's gaze moved on. As if she were no one, as if she were a stranger. Her chest tightened painfully. Jaxon Reed did not allow himself to react. Not outwardly, not even when he saw her, sitting at the edge of the table, poised, elegant, but with eyes that still carried the softness he once knew. His breath had hitched, buried so deep that no one could hear it. Sophia. The name thundered through him, but his expression stayed blank. 5 years. 5 years training himself to become unreadable, untouchable, a weapon, not a man. And yet, just her presence cracked the edges of his armor. He tightened his jaw. No, not now. Not here. She was the daughter of the people who destroyed him. She was the last person he could afford to be weak around. He walked to the head of the table, every step controlled, each one placing distance between who he was and who he had become. Sophia's father plastered on a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Reed, we are honored to have you here. We hope today's discussion can lead us to a productive partnership. Jaxon set down his briefcase with a soft, lethal thud. I do not form partnerships based on hope, he replied, voice deep and cool. I form them based on value. Show me yours. A ripple of discomfort went through the room. He didn't sit immediately. He surveyed the board, one by one, taking his time, letting the silence settle thickly. Sophia's father cleared his throat awkwardly. Of course, But Jaxon raised a hand, stopping him effortlessly. Before we begin, he said slowly, I want to understand why your board members are resigning faster than you can replace them. The words hit like a blow. Her father stiffened. Mr. Reed, and why investors, suppliers, and partners are walking away? Why your numbers have dropped? Why your reputation is cracking? Each statement was delivered calmly, softly, cruelly. Sophia watched him, stunned at the sheer dominance he commanded. This wasn't Jason. This couldn't be. Jason was warm. Jason was gentle. This man was a blade. Unforgiving, precise, deadly. But something in his voice, a shadow of old pain, made her heart twist. His eyes find her again. At one point, as her father sputtered through a defensive explanation, Jaxon looked at Sophia again. This time slower, deeper, her breath caught. He didn't glare at her. He didn't soften. He simply stared with the weight of a man who knew exactly how to dismantle everything she knew. Yet for a fleeting second, something flickered in his eyes. Something she remembered. Something that made her chest ache. But it vanished as quickly as it came. When the meeting finally adjourned, Jaxon gathered his documents without hurry. Executives rushed to impress him. Board members trailed after him. Her parents followed, smiling anxiously. Sophia remained seated. She couldn't look away. He was different. Older, harder, more powerful than anyone she'd ever met. But her heart whispered dangerously. It feels like him. It feels like Jason. She shook her head. Impossible. Jaxon Reeves died in a fire 5 years ago. Yet as she watched Jaxon Reed walk out of the boardroom, leaving tension and fear in his wake, she felt her heart whisper again. Then why does your soul recognize him? Chapter 9, Questions with No Answers. Sophia barely slept after the board meeting. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him. The way he stood, the way he spoke, the slight tilt of his head when he looked at her. It was impossible, illogical, ridiculous. And yet her chest tightened each time she whispers his old name in her thoughts. Jason? By morning, she had spiraled deep into an obsession she couldn't escape. If there was even a small chance, just one, she had to know. Sophia sat alone in her office, eyes scanning the digital files on her computer. Jaxon Reed's public records were immaculate. Too immaculate. No childhood history. No university records. No early employment. No trace before the age of 21. His life seemed to begin in a single burst. Success, money, influence, appearing out of nowhere. Sophia leaned back, heartbeat loud in her ears. Jason disappeared at 17. 4 years later, Jaxon appeared. The timeline haunted her. She contacted private investigators, searched social networks, even bribed junior associates for any scraps of information. All she ever found were dead ends, and that made her even more suspicious. Finally, frustrated and desperate, she demanded a personal meeting through formal channels. Her father thought it was strategic. Sophia knew it was something else. She needed to see his eyes at close distance. Needed to hear him speak to her without the barrier of a boardroom. Needed to confirm if her heart was lying. Jaxon received the request later that evening. He stared at the notification for a long moment. Sophia Lee requesting a direct meeting with him. Marcus raised a brow. You going to take it? Jackson's jaw tightened. Of course. She's a Lee, and this is business. Marcus watched him carefully. And you're certain it's only business? Jaxon didn't answer. But eventually he said, I won't let her see anything. Sophia arrived first. His private office was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist design, cold colors, a room built to intimidate. She stood as Jaxon entered, heart slamming against her ribs. He didn't smile. He didn't soften. He didn't pause. "Miss Lee," he said, voice deep and emotionless. "Let's make this brief." Her fingers trembled, but her voice stayed steady. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." He gestured to the seat opposite him. She sat. He remained standing, towering, distant. It made her feel small, unwelcome. Good, he told himself. She needs to walk away. "So," he said, taking a slow step closer. "What exactly do you wish to discuss?" Sophia swallowed hard. "Who are you really?" He didn't flinch. Didn't blink. "I am Jaxon Reed." "That's not what I mean." His eyes narrowed. Sophia leaned forward. "There's something familiar about you. The way you look at me, the way you speak, the timing of your rise." Jackson's jaw flexed. "Miss Lee, are you insinuating something?" "I'm asking," she said softly, "if we've met before." His heart squeezed, painful, sharp. But his face remained hard stone. "No." Sophia stared at him, searching his cold eyes for even a flicker of truth. But Jaxon Reed had spent 5 years killing the boy inside him. He knew how to lock every emotion away. "I see," she whispered. But she didn't believe him. Sophia steadied her breath. "I've done some digging. You have no records before 21. No schooling. No history. No trace. Many people choose privacy," he replied smoothly. "But this isn't privacy. It's erasure." Jaxon stepped closer, towering over her now, eyes icy. "Are you accusing me of forging my identity?" Sophia held his gaze. "No, I'm asking why your past is gone." Jaxon inhaled deeply. She was too close to the truth. Too close to the boy he buried in flames. He leaned down slightly, voice low and cutting. "My past is irrelevant." Sophia's breath trembled. "It matters to me." His expression froze. She didn't realize what her words did to him. How they stabbed right through the armor he wore. He straightened abruptly. "It shouldn't." Her chest tightened. "Why not?" "Because you and I," he said coldly, "have no connection. You are a business associate. Nothing more." Sophia felt those words like a slap. Her eyes flickered, hurt flashing before she could stop it. Jaxon saw it. He felt it. And for one dangerous second his resolve wavered. But then he shut down again. Sophia stood slowly, her voice raw but steady. "Tell me honestly, if we met 5 years ago, would you tell me?" Jaxon paused. The room felt unbearably quiet. He finally answered, tone sharp. "No, because it wouldn't matter." Sophia swallowed her hurt, lifting her chin. I had to ask." Jaxon turned his back to her, staring out the window at the city he now owned. "This meeting is over, Miss Lee." Her voice broke slightly when she whispered, Right." Sophia walked to the door, but just before she left, she turned back. "Whoever you used to be," she said softly, "I hope he wasn't as cold as you." Something inside Jaxon cracked. Small but real. He didn't turn around. He couldn't. When the door clicked shut, the room felt hauntingly empty. Jaxon let out a slow, shuddering breath. He had pushed her away. He had been cruel. He had protected himself. And yet, for the first time in 5 years, he felt something warm break through the ice. Regret. Chapter 10. A deal with ice behind it. 3 days after their private meeting, Sophia forced herself back into full professional mode. No more personal questions. No more letting emotions cloud her judgment. The Lee Corporation was sinking, and Jaxon Reed was the only lifeline they had left. She needed to be composed, sharp, strategic, even if the man on the other side of the table made her chest ache with déjà vu. Sophia entered the conference room with her laptop and documents, expression unreadable. She had spent nights rebuilding the proposal, calculations, projections, partnership frameworks. It was flawless on paper. But it all depended on him. Jaxon was already at the table when she arrived, leaning back in his chair. Expression cool, eyes distant. He didn't stand to greet her. Didn't offer a polite nod. Didn't soften. "Miss Lee." His tone was ice. She ignored the hurt that pulsed quietly in her chest. She nodded professionally. "Mr. Reed." She sat across from him, opening her laptop. Jaxon watched her hands work, quick, precise, confident. The same hands that once held his face gently, tracing the lines of a boy who loved her. He blinked once and shut the memory down mercilessly. He would not feel. Not here. Not now. Let's begin, he said sharply. Sophia walked him through the proposal. Slides, numbers, visuals. Her voice was clear, calm, controlled. We believe a partnership with Reed Global would stabilize both our upcoming expansions. We can leverage your reach in the international sector while offering our domestic infrastructure and supply chain. Jaxon watched her with cold concentration, arms crossed, expression unreadable. I reviewed your numbers, he said. They're optimistic. Sophia kept her tone steady. They're realistic. He tilted his head slightly. Optimism disguised as realism. Her jaw tightened, but she held her ground. Mr. Reed, I understand you are skeptical. But the projections are inflated, he interrupted calmly. And I don't invest based on hope. Sophia exhaled slowly. He was being harder on her than any investor she'd ever pitched to. Then tell me what you want, she said. Jaxon paused. He wanted her broken. He wanted her family ruined. He wanted them to feel the helplessness he once felt. But he kept all of that behind his expression of corporate apathy. Your company's strategic restructuring, he said. You clean up your operations, cut your dead weight, and align your assets to our acquisition timeline. Sophia blinked. Acquisition? Jaxon met her eyes coolly. Yes, if this deal moves forward, Reed Global will eventually acquire Lee Corporation. Sophia's chest squeezed. It felt like betrayal even though they weren't allies. That would put my family under you, she said slowly. It would put your company in competent hands, he corrected. She clenched her fists under the table. He was being cruel on purpose. Why? She straightened her spine. We didn't ask for an acquisition. We asked for a partnership. Jackson's stare hardened. And I don't offer second-rate deals. Sophia's breath caught. He wasn't negotiating with her. He was cornering her, backing her into a position where the Lees would be dependent on him. Just so he could crush them later. She didn't know that. But he did. Sophia finally set her papers down. What did we do to you? She whispered before she could stop herself. Her voice barely audible. Jaxon froze for a fraction of a second. Then he shut down completely. Nothing, he replied coldly. I treat all potential partners with the same standards. Sophia knew that was a lie. She could feel it in his voice. He was holding something back. Something sharp. Something personal. But she forced herself to stay composed. Well, she said quietly, for the sake of our future, I hope we can find common ground. Jaxon looked at her for a long moment. Long enough to almost soften. Almost. Then, I will consider your proposal. Sophia exhaled in relief. Thank you. But understand this, he added, voice lowering dangerously. Reed Global does not tolerate weakness. If the Lees agree to my terms, I expect full compliance. Sophia swallowed hard. We can adapt. He nodded once. Good. After an hour of fine-tuning details, Jaxon signed the preliminary agreement. Sophia felt hope bloom in her chest. For the first time in months. Thank you, Mr. Reed, she said softly. But Jaxon only offered a distant, shallow acknowledgement. This is temporary. Don't forget that. Sophia frowned. Temporary in what sense? Jaxon gathered his documents with precision, not looking at her. In business, Miss Lee, he said, nothing lasts forever. Sophia's heart twisted painfully. He didn't mean the deal. Somehow, she felt he meant them. The moment the door closed behind her, Marcus stepped out from the corner where he'd been reviewing documents. You're playing with fire, he said. Jaxon didn't look up. She doesn't know anything. But you do. Marcus crossed his arms. And you're letting that affect your judgment. Jackson's jaw flexed hard. Nothing affects my judgment. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You're agreeing to help the Lees? Jackson's voice dropped to a dark whisper. I'm agreeing to lift them up. He picked up the signed proposal, eyes cold. So they fall from a greater height. Marcus exhaled. And the girl? Jaxon turned away, hiding the flicker of pain in his chest. She will learn not to stand in my way. But the lie hung heavy in the air, because deep down, no matter how much he hardened himself, he knew Sophia was the one person he didn't want to break. And that weakness terrified him more than any enemy. Chapter 11. Strings Attached. Sophia walked out of Reed Global's towering glass building with a mixture of nerves and cautious hope swirling inside her chest. The proposal had gone better than she expected. Not good. Jaxon Reed didn't do good. But promising. He was cold, yes. Distant, absolutely. Impossibly difficult to read. But he hadn't rejected them. He hadn't walked away. And in the current state of the Lee Corporation, that alone felt like a small miracle. She exhaled, lifting her face to the cold afternoon wind. Maybe, just maybe, this was the first step to saving her family's future. She didn't know she had just stepped into the center of a carefully crafted trap. Her parents were waiting in her father's office when Sophia returned to the company headquarters. They looked tired, older than she remembered them being just months ago. Her father rose immediately. Well, what happened? Did he approve anything? Sophia set down her laptop and documents calmly, smoothing her hair behind her ear. We still need to finalize some conditions, but... She allowed a small smile. He signed the preliminary agreement. He's considering full partnership. Both her parents exhaled in relief. Her mother even sagged into a nearby chair, pressing a hand over her heart. Thank God, she whispered. I don't think I've ever felt this close to losing control. Sophia nodded slowly. She knew that feeling well. The silent panic at the edges of every decision. Her father sat, elbows on his desk, expression serious. So, what is he like? We've only seen him in board meetings. Sophia hesitated. How was she supposed to describe a man who felt like a ghost from her past? A man who looked at her like a stranger, yet somehow like someone who knew every corner of her heart. Professional, she answered carefully. Sharp, very intense. And very critical. Her mother scoffed. Of course he is. Men like him always are. Sophia flinched slightly at the phrase men like him. Her mother continued, anxious and desperate. You must stay on his good side. We can't afford another enemy. Please understand that. Sophia nodded, but her stomach twisted. Good side. Jaxon Reed did not have a good side. Not for her. Not anymore. Across the city, Jaxon, and the man he now was, sat in his private office, staring at the signed preliminary contract. Marcus stood by the window, hands behind his back. You did well, Marcus said. Jaxon didn't respond. His eyes remained fixed on Sophia's signature at the bottom of the page. The elegant handwriting he had once watched, her use to scribble cute notes, on his wrist in class. He tore his eyes away. This won't take long, he said. We'll lift them. Stabilize them. Gain their trust. And then? Jackson's voice turned razor sharp. Then I'll pull the ground out from under them. Marcus studied him quietly. And the girl? Jaxon paused. The question cut deeper than it should have. Nothing changes, he said coldly. She's a Lee. Is that what you tell yourself? Marcus asked. Or what you want to believe? Jackson's jaw tightened. Drop it. But Marcus didn't let go easily. You're colder to her than you need to be. Almost cruel. She can handle it. It's not her I'm worried about, Marcus muttered. Jaxon finally looked up, eyes dark and dangerous. She cannot know who I am. She cannot know what they did to me, and she cannot be allowed to stop me. Marcus sighed. He knew better than to push further. He also knew that the war happening inside Jaxon was far more dangerous than the one he planned against the Lees. Later that night, Sophia sat alone in her apartment, files spread across her coffee table. Her necklace rested in her palm as she stared blankly at the documents. She had written professional notes after the meeting, drafted reports, prepared next steps. But her mind kept drifting back to one thing. His eyes. There had been something there. Something old. Something shattered. She hated herself for even thinking it. Jason is dead, she whispered to the quiet room. She closed her eyes. The grief felt fresh again, like a reopened wound. Yet the whisper came anyway. Then why does he feel so familiar? 2 days later, Reed Global quietly purchased a minority stake in the Lee Corporation. Just enough to control influence, but not enough to seem suspicious. Sophia saw the transaction in the morning report. Her father nearly wept in relief. He's serious about the partnership, her father said breathlessly. This could save us. Sophia nodded slowly, but her chest tightened painfully, because somewhere deep inside her, something felt wrong. But she still pushed forward. She didn't know she was tying the first knot in a noose. Jaxon Reed planned to place around her family's empire. That night, alone in his penthouse, Jaxon stood on the balcony staring at the city lights. He had everything he once dreamed of. Power, influence, the means to destroy everything the Lees built. And yet, he'd felt his control slip when Sophia looked at him today with hesitant hope in her eyes. He gripped the railing until his knuckles whitened. She still doesn't know, he murmured to himself. And she never will. Because if Sophia Lee discovered who he really was, he wasn't sure he could follow through with his revenge. And that, more than anything, terrified him. Chapter 12. The Gala That Changes Everything. The annual International Business Gala was the most prestigious event of the season. An evening of power, wealth, alliances, and whispered secrets behind crystal glasses. Sophia had attended every year since she was old enough to hold a champagne flute. But tonight was different. Tonight she would be standing in the same room as Jaxon Reed, a man who made her heart twist in directions she didn't understand, a man who treated her with glacial hostility, a man who felt like a stranger, yet also felt far too familiar. She wore an elegant silver gown that hugged her figure and shimmered under the chandelier lights. Her hair swept to one side, her necklace, the crescent moon, resting at her collarbone. She didn't wear it for anyone else. Only one boy had ever mattered enough for her to keep it on. She thought about him tonight. She didn't know why. The gala was in full swing when the doors opened again, and a sudden hush fell over the ballroom. Jaxon Reed entered. Every head turned. He wore a black tailored suit, sharp enough to slice the air around him. His expression was cold, distant, powerful. But it wasn't his presence alone that drew attention. It was the woman on his arm. A world-famous model, statuesque, wearing a red gown that clung to every perfect curve. Her hand rested on Jackson's chest possessively, her laugh soft and practiced. Sophia felt her stomach drop. She told herself it didn't matter. They were nothing to each other. Jaxon Reed was an investor, a business partner. Then why did her chest ache? Why did she look away so quickly, afraid he'd see the jealousy in her eyes? Her father whispered approvingly, "That's the man leading the future." Always surrounded by the best. Sophia's jaw tightened. Jaxon didn't usually attend galas like this. But tonight was strategic, a perfect stage. He moved through the crowd confidently, the model laughing softly beside him, but he wasn't listening. His eyes, scanning the room, found her immediately. Sophia. She stood on the opposite side of the ballroom like a shard of moonlight. Radiant, elegant, heartbreaking in her silver gown. The crescent necklace glowed softly against her skin. His chest tightened. For a moment, everything around him blurred. The model on his arm tugged his sleeve. "Jax, should we greet the investors?" She purred. He forced his eyes away. "Go ahead without me." She pouted. "But..." "I said go." His tone left no room for argument. The model retreated with a flick of her perfect hair. Jaxon inhaled slowly, corrupting his feelings back into ice. He couldn't let himself break tonight. Not when he was this close to seeing his revenge unfold. Sophia and Jaxon crossed paths near an ornate marble column. She bowed her head politely. "Mr. Reed." He nodded once. "Miss Lee." They stood in silence, the air between them thick. Heavy, electric. Sophia's heart pounded painfully behind her ribs. She shouldn't care. But she hated seeing him with another woman. She hated how it made her feel. Replaceable. Jaxon studied her quietly. She didn't know that in his eyes. She was the only woman in the entire room. Later that night, Sophia stepped onto a quiet balcony to escape the noise. She needed air. She needed space from her own emotions. But she wasn't alone for long. The door opened. Jaxon stepped out. Her breath caught. He closed the door behind him, shutting out the music. They stood alone under moonlight. "Didn't expect to see you out here," she said softly. His voice was low and cool. "Crowds drain me." "Me too." He offered no reaction. Sophia leaned against the railing. The wind brushed against her dress, carrying faint music from inside. She didn't look at him when she whispered, "She's beautiful. The woman you came with." Jaxon turned his head slightly. "Does it matter?" Her cheeks heated. "No, of course not. It's just an observation." He stepped closer, too close, until she could feel the heat of his presence. "You sound jealous, Miss Lee." Her breath hitched. "I'm not." His lips curved, not into a smile, but into something darker. He leaned in, voice grazing her ear. "You could have fooled me." Sophia shivered. She hated how much power his voice still had over her. She turned sharply to face him. "I don't care who you date," she snapped quietly. "I was just making conversation." "You care," he said softly, coldly. "And that's why you should stop." Her eyes widened. "What?" Jaxon straightened, mask slipping back into place. "You're too easy." Sophia froze. "Excuse me?" He tilted his head slightly. "Women like you, rich, sheltered, sentimental, always fall for the same tricks. A look, a touch, and suddenly you think you're special." Her heart splintered. Anger flared through her veins. "How dare you?" she whispered. "You don't know anything about me." Jackson's voice cut like a blade. "I know enough." Sophia stepped back, eyes burning with hurt and fury. "You're cruel," she said, voice shaking. "You are cold and arrogant and—" "Good," he murmured. "Why?" she demanded. "Why be like this? What did I ever do to deserve—" "You exist," he said. She stared at him, stunned and hurt. He looked away, keeping his expression unreadable. But inside he was burning. Tonight she was the most beautiful woman in the room. The one he couldn't look away from. The only one who still had the power to crack his armor, and that terrified him. So he did the only thing he knew. He pushed her away with cruelty. Sophia's voice broke when she whispered, "I don't know who hurt you, Mr. Reed, but I hope one day you realize not everyone deserves your hatred." She brushed past him and disappeared back inside. Jaxon stood alone on the balcony for a long moment, jaw clenched, chest tight. He whispered to the night, "You did," but she never heard it. Chapter 13, Sparks and Scars. Sophia avoided him for a full week after the gala. She buried herself in meetings, reports and department reviews, anything to avoid thinking about the man who had made her feel both desired and humiliated in the same breath. But Jaxon Reed was not someone you could avoid forever, especially when he seemed to appear everywhere she went. Boardrooms, elevators, company dinners, strategy updates. Every time she thought she was safe, he'd walk in with that cold confidence, that unreadable face, and that insufferable smirk. It infuriated her. It confused her. It made her chest twist in ways she refused to acknowledge. Sophia stepped into the elevator late one evening, exhausted, rubbing her temple. Just as the doors began to close, a hand slid in. The doors reopened. Jaxon stepped inside. Sophia tensed immediately. "Miss Lee," he greeted, voice smooth, too controlled. "Mr. Reed?" she replied stiffly. For a moment, silence. Then, he moved closer. Too close. Sophia backed up a step, her shoulder brushing the wall. She hated that her pulse jumped. Jaxon noticed. Of course he did. His lips curled slightly, not a smile, but the beginnings of one. "You're avoiding me." "I'm working," she snapped. He lifted a brow. "You avoid me quite efficiently while doing it." Sophia glared at him. "I have no reason to see you outside of business." "Then why are you irritated right now?" Her jaw clenched. "I'm not irritated." He stepped closer again. "Liar." Her heart flipped violently. She swallowed hard and tried to look away. His hand suddenly reached forward, grabbing her wrist. Softly, but firmly enough to stop her from turning. "Let go," she said, breath uneven. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. Her pulse raced beneath his fingertips. He felt it. And for one dangerous moment, his face softened. But then, he stepped back abruptly, releasing her as if the contact burned him. "Relax," he said coldly. "I don't want you." Sophia's breath caught. He knew how to cut deep, but she refused to let him win. "Good," she spat, "because I would never want someone like you." The elevator chimed as it reached her floor. She marched out quickly, but he called after her, voice like a dark threat. "You say that now, Miss Lee." She didn't turn around, but her body heated at his tone. She hated him. She hated how he affected her. She hated even more that part of her wondered what it would feel like if he did want her. 2 days later, they were forced to review contract revisions together. Sophia sat across the table, pen in hand, trying to ignore the way Jaxon watched her from the other end. At one point, she leaned forward to grab a document, and he caught her wrist again before she could touch it. Her breath hitched. "Take mine," he murmured, handing her the file. She yanked her hand back immediately. "Don't touch me." Something dark flickered in his eyes. "Why not?" His voice dropped lower. "You react every time." Sophia's cheeks flushed, and she instantly straightened her posture. "I react because you're being inappropriate." "Inappropriate?" He leaned back in his chair. "No, inappropriate would be telling you what I'm thinking right now." Her heartbeat faltered. She hated that he could do this to her. Hated that he knew exactly how to push her buttons. She forced her voice steady. "Mr. Reed, can we keep this professional?" He slowly closed the folder in front of him. Professional, he repeated, that irritating smirk curling at his mouth. Yes, let's try. But his eyes, they said the opposite. At the end of the meeting, Sophia stood to leave. She didn't get far. Jaxon stepped in front of her, blocking her path with silent dominance. She crossed her arms. Move. He didn't. Instead, he leaned closer, so close she could feel his breath near her ear. I'm curious, he murmured. Why does everything about you scream that you want me to touch you? She flinched. When your mouth insists you don't. Heat flooded her chest. Anger, embarrassment, and something deeply, painfully confusing. She shoved him back. How arrogant can you get? She hissed. I don't want you. I don't feel anything for you. His eyes flashed. Then he laughed, a low, cruel sound. Of course you don't, he said coldly. You're just like every other girl who confuses attention for desire. Her whole body stiffened. There it was, the cruelty again. The blade he always used to cut her heart open. She glared at him, voice trembling with fury. You're unbelievable. One minute you flirt, the next you insult me. Make up your mind. His expression hardened instantly. I have, he said. I don't want you. Sophia felt something twist painfully inside her. Good, she whispered, swallowing the ache. Because I don't want you either. She walked out, slamming the door behind her. Jaxon stood there alone, breathing hard. Because the truth was brutal. He wanted her more than he'd ever wanted anything, and hurting her was the only way to keep himself from falling apart. Chapter 14. The line. He never meant to cross. Sophia avoided him for days after their heated exchange. This time it wasn't fear or confusion driving her. It was anger. Anger at him for playing with her. Anger at herself for reacting. Anger at the sparks she denied, but could never fully ignore. So she kept her distance. She skipped optional meetings. Sent her assistant in her place. Kept her replies to his emails cold and clipped. And when she did see him, in hallways, in shared elevators, in boardrooms, she never met his eyes. Not once. It drove him insane. Jaxon Reed noticed everything. Especially her. The way she stopped looking at him. The way she passed him without reaction. The way she didn't flinch or blush or tremble when he walked by. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't mean a damn thing. But it did. Because Sophia's anger cut deeper than her affection ever could. Marcus noticed too. You've been tense all week, he commented casually. Jaxon didn't look up from his laptop. I'm working. You're obsessing. Jaxon slammed the laptop shut. Drop it. Marcus sighed softly. You're losing your edge, kid. At the end of the week, the Lee Corporation hosted a networking mixer to welcome new potential partners. Sophia attended, looking breathtaking in a deep navy dress, hair cascading around her shoulders. Simple, elegant, devastating. Jaxon arrived late, scanning the crowd automatically. His eyes locking onto her instantly. She was smiling, laughing, with another man. A young CEO from a tech startup, smart, handsome, successful, and far too interested. Sophia leaned in to hear something the man said. Her hand brushed his arm lightly as she laughed. Jackson's jaw clenched so hard Marcus heard it crack. Careful, Marcus murmured. People might think you care. Jaxon didn't respond. But something ugly curled in his chest. A slow, burning jealousy he had no right to feel. The tech CEO leaned closer to Sophia, murmuring something in her ear. Sophia blushed. Jaxon almost broke his glass. He moved. Before he even thought about it, he crossed the room with silent precision. Sophia noticed him approaching. Her smile faltered. Her posture stiffened. Good, Jaxon thought darkly. She still reacts. The tech CEO extended his hand politely. Mr. Reed, isn't it? A pleasure to meet you. Jaxon didn't shake it. Instead, he placed a hand on Sophia's lower back. Firm enough to claim, possessive enough to shock her. She sucked in a breath. Miss Lee, he said softly but sharply, ignoring the other man entirely. We need to discuss the acquisition documents. Sophia stepped away from his touch immediately. I'm in the middle of a conversation. Jackson's eyes darkened. I wasn't asking. The tech CEO blinked, confused. Sophia? If you need to... No, she said quickly, anger rising. I don't owe him my time. Jackson's jaw twitched. He stepped closer to her, invading her space completely. If you want this partnership to succeed, he murmured just for her. Then yes. You do, Sophia glared at him. Stop talking to me like that. Then stop giving attention to men who don't deserve you. He snapped before he could stop himself. Her eyes widened in shock. The tech CEO cleared his throat awkwardly. I'll, let you two talk. He walked away quickly. Sophia rounded on Jaxon instantly. What the hell is wrong with you? She hissed. You don't get to police who I talk to. He leaned in, voice tight with jealousy. You were flirting. So what? She shot back. You flirt with everyone. Yes, he said, stepping closer, but not like that. Dangerous silence. Sophia's heartbeat went wild. I don't understand you, she whispered. 1 minute you want nothing to do with me. The next you act like what? He demanded. Like you own me. Her voice cracked through the air. People nearby turned to look. Jaxon grabbed her wrist gently, but firmly enough to guide her into a quiet corner behind a pillar. Once hidden, he pinned her with a cold stare. Get this straight, he murmured, voice low, sinful, angry. I don't own you. Her chest rose and fell unevenly. Then stop acting like it. His breath hitched. Her eyes were furious. Her lips parted, her pulse racing under his fingertips. He wanted her. He hated that he wanted her. So he did what he always did. He hurt her. Jaxon leaned in, voice cutting like a blade. Be honest with yourself, Miss Lee. He smirked. Any man gives you a little attention and you melt. You're predictable. Her heart dropped. Arrogant, she hissed. Delusional. Narcissistic. He stepped even closer. I'm right. She shoved him with shaking hands. I hate you, she whispered, voice breaking. I hate how you speak to me. I hate how you look at me. I hate how you confuse everything. He smirked again. Maybe you're just easy to confuse. Her breath stopped. She swallowed hard, eyes burning with humiliation and fury. Then she turned sharply and walked away, heels clicking fast across the marble floor. This time Jaxon didn't follow. He watched her leave, chest tight, fists clenched. Marcus approached quietly. Do you feel better? Jaxon exhaled, voice a whisper. No, because the truth was brutal and terrifying. Every insult he threw at her hurt him far more than it hurt her. And every time she walked away, a piece of him went with her. Chapter 15. The Proposal They Cannot Refuse. The days following the gala were a hurricane of tension. Sophia tried to pretend his jealousy had meant nothing. Jaxon tried to pretend he didn't care that she stopped speaking to him entirely. But the silence between them became its own battlefield, and Jaxon hated losing control, especially over her. So he made a decision. A decision cold, calculated, and designed to destroy the Lees from the inside out. Marriage. Not love, not affection. A corporate move, a chain disguised as a ring. His plan forms. Marcus stared at Jaxon as he laid out the strategy. You want to propose marriage to Sophia Lee? Marcus said slowly. This is bold. This is strategic, Jaxon corrected. And personal, Marcus countered. Jaxon snapped his gaze up. Don't push. Marcus held up his hands. Fine, explain it then. Jaxon leaned back in his chair, eyes cold. Uniting Reed Global and the Lee Corporation. Under a family contract elevates. Their public image reassures partners and stabilizes their stock trajectory. They're desperate. They'll agree. And Sophia? Marcus asked quietly. Jackson's jaw tightened. She'll resist. I assume that's part of the plan, Marcus said. Jaxon didn't respond. He didn't need to, because this move was his masterstroke. A way to bind her to him while ruining her family once the knife dropped. And yet, beneath all that, there was another truth he refused to acknowledge. He wanted her close. He wanted her where he could see her. He wanted her in his orbit, even if it was wrong. Even if it would hurt them both. 2 days later, Jaxon summoned Sophia to his private boardroom. She stepped in cautiously, keeping her expression neutral and professional. He watched her walk in, admiring silently. The confident stride, the fire in her eyes, the crescent necklace he once gave her. And then he remembered he wasn't supposed to feel anything. He leaned back in his chair, mask of cold superiority sliding into place. Miss Lee, he said smoothly, sit. Sophia lifted her chin. I prefer to stand. Jackson's lip twitched. Of course she did. Of course she was still defiant. Suit yourself. He slid a formal document across the table. Sophia hesitated. then finally stepped forward and opened it. Her heart stopped. Her eyes snapped up to him. "This is a marriage proposal." Jaxon steepled his fingers calmly. "It is." Sophia's pulse thundered in her ears. "You want to marry me?" she whispered, disbelief shaking through her. "No," he said instantly. The word cut sharper than he meant it to. He continued, tone cold, businesslike. "This is not romantic. This is not emotional. This is strictly corporate." Sophia swallowed hard. "And why me?" His gaze flickered, a dangerous spark, a forbidden softness, before he buried it. "You are the public face of your family, the most visible, the most respected, the strongest. A union between us stabilizes both companies." Her chest tightened. "And that's all?" she whispered. His voice dropped lower, intentionally flirtatious, cruelly controlled. "Unless you thought there was another reason?" Sophia flushed in confusion and fury. "How dare you?" He cut her off with a lazy smirk. "Relax, Miss Lee. If I wanted you personally, trust me, I wouldn't hide it." Her breath caught. Her stomach twisted. God, she hated him. Hated how he toyed with her. Hated how her body reacted even when her mind screamed to stop. "I'm not agreeing to this," she snapped. Jaxon stood slowly. And then he stepped closer. Too close. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. The briefest, softest touch. A touch that sent sparks she denied shooting down her spine. "You will," he murmured. "Because your family needs this." She jerked away from him. "No," he smirked. "We'll see." Sophia stormed home, contract in hand. Her parents were in the sitting room, and when she dropped the document in front of them, her mother gasped. Her father stood so fast his chair tipped. "Jaxon Reed wants to marry you?" her father said, voice cracking with excitement. Sophia clenched her fists. "It's not a real proposal. It's strategic and cold and—" "This is perfect!" her mother squealed. Sophia stared at her in disbelief. "Did you hear a word I said?" Her father grabbed the papers, scanning through them. "This would solidify our partnership with Reed Global. Investors would come flooding back. This could save everything, Sophia." "No," Sophia said firmly. "I don't want this." "He doesn't want me." Her mother cut her off sharply. "This isn't about want. This is about survival." Sophia felt her stomach twist painfully. Her father stepped closer, voice stern. "You will accept it." Sophia stared at them, stunned. "You're deciding my life for me again? Just like—" "Enough," her father barked. "This is final. You are marrying Jaxon Reed." Sophia's breath broke. She grabbed the papers and stormed out of the room. Her mother called after her, voice sweet with desperation. "You should be grateful. A man like that chose you." Sophia stopped in the hallway, trembling. "No," she whispered. "He didn't choose me. He chose a business contract." And her voice broke. Back in his penthouse, Jaxon stood alone at the window, hands in his pockets, staring at the city. He knew the Lees would accept. He knew Sophia would be forced. He knew he was one step closer to destroying them. He also knew Sophia hated him more than ever. It should have satisfied him. Instead, he whispered softly to his reflection in the glass. "If only you knew, Soph." His expression hardened again. "This is the only way to finish what your family started." But deep down, a piece of him wished he could tell her the truth. A piece of him wished he could be Jason again, and a piece of him already regretted the day she'd find out he wasn't. Chapter 16. Engaged to the Enemy. The Lee estate had hosted many gatherings over the years, charity galas, business dinners, socialite luncheons, but never anything like this. Tonight it was filled with cameras, reporters, board members, important guests, and Sophia stood in the middle of it all, trying not to crumble. She wore an exquisite white engagement gown chosen by her mother. Elegant, ethereal, perfect for photographs. Her parents were glowing, beaming, acting as if tonight were the greatest moment of their lives. Sophia felt sick, because at the end of the carpet, under crystal chandeliers, surrounded by flashing cameras, stood Jaxon Reed, her future husband, her enemy, her tormentor, her biggest confusion. Her father tapped his glass. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We are here to celebrate a union that marks the beginning of a new era." Sophia stared at the floor. Her heart raced. Her palms shook. Her breath caught. Her father continued, voice booming proudly. "The engagement of my daughter, Sophia Lee, and the CEO of Reed Global, Mr. Jaxon Reed, Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Sophia's throat tightened with claustrophobic panic. And then, Jaxon stepped toward her. Every lens turned to them. He extended his hand. Cold, confident, commanding. She forced herself to take it, knowing every camera was watching. But the moment their skin met, something warm shot through her arm. A spark she denied instantly. His grasp tightened slightly. For the crowd, he smiled. For her, his voice was a whisper only she could hear. Breathe. She stiffened. She hated that her body listened. Hated that he sensed her panic. Hated that he cared, even when he pretended he didn't. A velvet box appeared in his hand. He opened it slowly, dramatically. For the cameras, not for her. Inside was a breathtaking diamond ring. Cold, bright, flawless, just like him. Sophia's jaw clenched. He took her hand, sliding the ring onto her finger with agonizing precision. It fit perfectly, as if this entire moment had been crafted for months. Reporters shouted questions. Guests oohed and ahed. Sophia felt trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Jaxon leaned in and whispered, "Smile." She did, barely. He placed a hand on her lower back for the cameras. A public show of affection, but his touch was strange. Light, steady, careful. Like he didn't want to hurt her. Like he was afraid to try. Sophia hated that part of her melted at the contact. Later, after the photos and speeches and congratulations, Sophia escaped to one of the quiet hallways. She needed a moment to breathe. To think, to collect herself. But of course, he found her. Jaxon stepped around the corner, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. She spun around. "Stay away from me." He raised an eyebrow. "Interesting. Most fiancés prefer their fiancé close. I'm not most fiancés. And you're not my fiancé. You're my business arrangement?" he offered dryly. She glared at him. "You manipulated my family. You boxed me into this. You took away my choice again." He stepped closer, body language dominant. "I offered a solution. You offered a trap." He smirked. She wanted to slap it off his face. "And yet," he murmured, "you're engaged to me now." Sophia's pulse hammered. She hated him. She hated that her knees felt weak. "Don't flatter yourself," she snapped. "This means nothing." His eyes dropped to her lips before he quickly looked away. "Of course," he said coldly. "Nothing." But his voice wavered just slightly. She noticed, and it confused her even more. She tried to push past him. But he caught her wrist, gently but firmly enough to stop her. Again with the damn wrist, Sophia yanked her arm. "Don't touch me." Jaxon stepped closer, breath grazing her ear. "Then stop looking at me like you want me to." Sophia gasped. Her cheeks burned. "I don't." "You do. You're arrogant. You're lying." His lips brushed dangerously close to her cheek. Not touching, but close enough to feel. Heat spiraled through her in betrayal. She shoved him back, furious and breathless. "I hate you." He smirked faintly. "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." His eyes darkened, something raw flickering in them. "For your own sake, Sophia," he said quietly, "you should keep hating me." The words struck something deep in her chest. Before she could reply, footsteps echoed down the hall. Her parents. Jaxon instantly straightened, mask back on. Professional, composed. Her father beamed. "There you two are. Come, the press wants more photos." Jaxon gestured to Sophia. "After you, fiancé." She wanted to scream, wanted to run, wanted to disappear, but instead she walked forward, Jaxon following behind her. Close enough to feel his presence, far enough to remind her they were still enemies. And all she could think was, how did my life become tied to the one man who confuses me more than anyone I've ever known? Chapter 17, The Private Engagement Contract. 2 days after the engagement announcement, Sophia stood outside Jaxon's private penthouse office. Heart pounding, fists clenched. They were meeting tonight to finalize the personal terms of their engagement. Not the business contract, but the private, social, public, and domestic expectations. Her parents insisted she attend with an open mind. Sophia planned to do the opposite. She knocked once. The door opened on its own, automated, sleek. Inside, Jaxon sat behind a minimalist black desk, sleeves rolled up, jaw tight, eyes cold. "As always, Miss Lee," he said without looking up. "You're late." She bristled instantly. "It's exactly 7. You just enjoy being dramatic." He lifted his eyes. A slow, dangerous smirk tugged at his lips. I do enjoy a good entrance. Sophia's blood heated, with anger, hatred, and something she refused to name. On the desk lay a folder labeled Engagement Agreement, Reed and Lee. Sophia crossed her arms. Let's get this over with. He tapped the folder. There are behavioral expectations, public requirements, media appearances, event schedules. Her eyes narrowed. I'm not your accessory. He stood, walked toward her, too slowly, too confidently. She took an involuntary step back and hated herself for it. Jaxon stopped a breath away from her, lowering his voice. You're my fiancé. That's not the same thing. It is in the eyes of the world. Her pulse betrayed her. Her breath hitched. He smirked when he noticed. I don't care about the world, she snapped. I care about my life. He leaned down, lips nearly brushing her ear. Then I suggest you cooperate. Heat exploded through her. Her knees almost buckled. She shoved him away. Don't get close to me. His smirk widened. You say that, he murmured, and yet... I don't want you, she snapped. He laughed softly, a low, mocking, infuriating sound. You want something. She flushed with rage. Sophia sat on the opposite side of the table, desperately putting distance between them. Fine, she said sharply. Let's go over the rules. He sat across from her, completely composed. Too composed. He flipped to the first page. Rule 1, public appearances. We will attend events together. You will behave like a united, loving couple. She scoffed. So we lie. He smirked again. You lie well. You've had practice. Her jaw dropped. That's a compliment, Miss Lee. It was an insult. It was both. Her cheeks burned with fury. Rule 2, living arrangements. You will move temporarily into the Reed penthouse after the engagement ceremony. Sophia slammed her hand on the table. Absolutely not. He didn't flinch. It's necessary for image. Investors want stability. No, I won't live with you. You will. Her throat tightened. She hated that he had all the power. Rule 3, media conduct. All interviews will be approved jointly. All statements will align. That's reasonable, she muttered. He arched a brow. Try not to sound surprised. Rule 4, personal boundaries. You may pursue your personal hobbies, but public disagreements are forbidden. Sophia's eyes narrowed. You mean I'm not allowed to argue with you? In public, he corrected. I'll argue with you wherever I want. You do, he said dryly. Constantly. She glared. He didn't look even a little sorry. The final term. Jaxon flipped to the last page. His voice grew lower, more dangerous, and somehow more intimate. Rule 5, private conduct. Sophia held her breath. He read slowly. We will maintain a respectful partnership behind closed doors. Sophia blinked. That was surprisingly decent, until he continued. And we will avoid unnecessary physical distractions. Her cheeks flamed. What distractions? She demanded. He looked straight into her eyes, held her gaze, then said in a slow, rich tone, The ones you keep reacting to. Sophia's pulse exploded. You are insufferable. And you, he murmured, need honesty. She stood abruptly, chair scraping back. Give me that contract. I'm adding my own rules. He calmly handed her a pen. Go ahead. She scribbled aggressively. Sophia's rules. 1. No touching me without permission. 2. No flirting. 3. No stepping into my space for no reason. 4. No calling me fiancé unless in public. 5. No smirking at me, ever. She slammed the pen down. There. Jaxon leaned forward. Read every word. And then, he smirked. She groaned in frustration. Rule 5 is impossible for me, he said softly. Break it and die, she snapped. He leaned back, crossing his arms leisurely. You wrote those rules, he murmured. Because you want to control what you can't. I want to control you, she shot back. He raised a brow. Be careful saying that to a man like me. Her stomach flipped violently. I hate you, she whispered. You hate that you want me, he corrected. She turned to leave. He grabbed her wrist. Gentle, warm, electric. She froze. Her breath shook. Let go. His voice dropped so low it was barely sound. If I let go, he said softly, you'll run. Her heart nearly stopped. He slowly loosened his grip. But before she could escape, he moved closer. close enough that the air between them vibrated. "Sophia," he whispered, "this engagement will destroy one of us." Her breath caught. What are you talking about?" He stepped back, mask sliding into place. "Hold. Heartless. Indestructible. For now," he said, grabbing the contract. "Sign it." "And if I don't?" He smirked. "If you don't, Miss Lee, your family loses everything." She stared at him, hurt, furious, shaking. "You're a monster." "Good," he said softly. "It'll help you survive me." And then he walked out, leaving her alone. Heart racing, mind spinning, body traitorously buzzing where he touched her. She hated him. God, she hated him. But even worse, she feared she might fall for him anyway. Chapter 18. The wedding they didn't choose. The wedding wasn't real. Not yet. This was the public ceremony. The strategic event designed to cement the engagement, reassure investors, and stabilize both companies. A staged celebration. A contractual performance. But as Sophia stood in front of the cameras, wearing a breathtaking ivory gown that shimmered under the studio lights, her heart beat like she was walking into something far more dangerous. And Jaxon? He stood across from her in a black designer suit. Flawless, cold, heartbreakingly handsome. A man carved for the spotlight. A man the world adored. A man she was supposed to pretend to love. The photo shoot begins. "Closer," the photographer called. "Mr. Reed, hold her waist. Miss Lee, lift your chin. Perfect." Jaxon stepped behind her, placing a firm hand on her waist. Sophia stiffened. God, why did his touch feel so familiar? So warm? So safe? She knew it was a lie. She knew it meant nothing. But her body reacted before her mind could stop it. "Relax," Jaxon murmured, low enough only she could hear. "For the photos." She hated that she obeyed. Hated that his voice softened her without permission. His hand slid slightly, guiding her into the right position. She swallowed tightly. "Don't touch me like that. It's my job," he said coolly. "Smile for the cameras. Now the embrace shot," the photographer said. "Mr. Reed, wrap your arms around her." Sophia's breath froze. Slowly, Jaxon stepped closer. Way too close, until his chest pressed against her back. His arms circled her waist. Firm, strong, almost protective. Sophia inhaled sharply. Her body recognized this warmth, this shape, this closeness. But she shouldn't. Jason was gone. Dead. So why did this feel like him? She closed her eyes for half a second and a memory hit her like a wave. Jason hugging her by the oak tree in high school. His arms warm, gentle, protective, holding her like she was his entire world. It felt the same. Impossible. Jaxon leaned in, brushing his lips close to her ear. "Don't overthink it," he whispered. Her eyes snapped open. He didn't know what his voice did to her, what his touch woke up inside her. Or maybe he did. "Time for the ring pose," the photographer announced cheerfully. Then the kiss shot. Sophia felt her heart drop. "What kiss?" she whispered. Jaxon smirked. "As if you didn't expect that." She glared. "I'm not kissing you." "Tell that to them," he murmured, gesturing to the 20 cameras trained on them. She remembered the contract. Public affection required. Her stomach twisted painfully. Jaxon stepped closer, one slow, confident step at a time, until his hand lifted to her cheek. "Don't make this difficult," he said softly. It wasn't soft. It wasn't kind. It was controlled, calculated. But his touch, God, his touch wasn't. His thumb brushed her jaw in a way that made her knees weak. "Ready?" he asked. "No," he smirked. "Too bad." And then, his lips pressed against hers. A staged kiss, a fake kiss. But it didn't feel fake. Heat shot through her entire body. Her fingers trembled against his chest. For a moment, one impossible moment, she felt like she was 16 again. Kissing Jason behind the bleachers. Heart racing, world spinning. She felt him. She felt him. Jaxon's lips were firm, perfect, painfully familiar. His hand cupped her face the exact way Jason used to. His other arm pulled her closer, too close, like he forgot for a second that this was pretend. Sophia broke the kiss abruptly, breath shaking. She stepped back, her mind spinning, her heart racing, her eyes searching his face desperately. "Who are you?" she whispered. Jaxon's expression hardened instantly. He stepped back. "Cold again? Untouchable. Arrogant. It's a photo shoot, Miss Lee," he said sharply. "Don't confuse performance with emotion." Her heart cracked. She looked down at her ring. "Right," she said quietly. "It's all pretend." "Yes," he said. But something flickered in his eyes. Pain. Regret. Memory? He turned away before she could see more. After the photo shoot ended, Sophia tried to leave the studio quickly. She needed air. Space. Distance. But she stumbled slightly on her gown, losing her balance. Before she could fall, Jaxon caught her, his arms wrapped around her instantly, protective, firm. Exactly like Jason. Sophia sucked in a breath, gripping his sleeve. "Careful," he murmured, voice deeper than he intended. "You're shaking." "Let go," she whispered, voice trembling. But he didn't. Not right away. He held her a moment too long enough for her heart to betray her, long enough for him to drown in a feeling he refused to name. Finally, he pulled back. "It's just for show," he said coldly. "Right," she whispered, voice breaking. But behind his hard eyes, something ached. Something remembered her. Something wanted to hold her again. And that terrified him. Chapter 19, The Penthouse Move-In. Sophia stood in front of the towering glass building that housed the Reed Global Penthouse, her suitcases by her feet, her heart pounding with a mixture of resentment and dread. This wasn't her choice. None of this was. But to the world, she was the future Mrs. Reed. Her parents insisted she move in immediately for image consistency. Jaxon insisted for contract integrity. Sophia knew the truth. This wasn't a home. This was a cage. And inside it waited the man who confused, infuriated, and ignited her all at once. She took the private elevator to the top floor. The doors opened into a breathtaking penthouse, sleek marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline, dark, elegant furniture. Hold, minimal, expensive, just like him. Jaxon appeared from the hallway, wearing a black dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his expression unreadable. "Miss Lee," he said calmly. "Welcome." Sophia glared. "No need to pretend you're happy about it." His lips twitched, half amusement, half annoyance. "I'm not pretending. This benefits both of us." "You mean it benefits you?" He stepped closer, hands in his pockets. "It benefits the engagement," he corrected. Sophia rolled her eyes so hard it felt like it bruised her skull. Jaxon walked her down the hall, stopping in front of two doors. "This is your room," he said, opening the first door. Sophia's eyes widened. It was beautiful, soft colors, warm lighting, elegant bedding, a private balcony. It looked like a luxury hotel suite. "You designed this?" she asked quietly. He shrugged. "My assistant handled the details." Her chest tightened. Good. She didn't want him to care. Didn't want to think he put effort into making her comfortable. "And your room?" she asked. He pointed to the door across from hers. "Here." Sophia stiffened. "Across from mine? Seriously?" He arched a brow. "Would you prefer we share a room?" Her cheeks flamed. "No, absolutely not." The corner of his lip lifted in that infuriating smirk. "Then stop complaining." Sophia glared. "I swear if you smirk at me one more time—" "You'll what?" he teased softly. "Run, fight, kiss me again?" She froze. Her heart hammered. He stepped closer, voice dropping dangerously. "Because you're very reactive when it comes to me, Sophia." She shoved him. "Stay out of my room, Jaxon. As long as you stay out of mine," he murmured. She slammed her door in his face. He smiled, but it faded quickly. Because if she ever stepped into his room, she'd see pieces of Jason still living there. By evening, they sat across from each other at his massive dining table. Sophia picked at her food, refusing to look at him. Jaxon watched her with unsettling calm, as if studying her. Every movement, every breath, every flicker of emotion. "You're quiet," he said. "Maybe I don't want to talk to you." "That's new," he muttered. "You usually have plenty to say." She glared. "And you usually have plenty of insults." He leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Would you rather I flirt?" Sophia choked on her water. "I don't want either." His smirk returned. "Really?" "Yes." He tilted his head slightly. "You shake every time I stand close to you." "That's adrenaline," she snapped. Adrenaline. Stop mocking me." He didn't, because her anger was easier to face than the truth. He remembered what it felt like to kiss her, to hold her, to love her. He forced the memories back into the darkness. Sophia tried to sleep, She couldn't. His presence was too loud. Even across the hall. She tossed, turned, finally gave up and walked into the living area, wrapped in a robe. She didn't expect Jaxon to be there. He stood by the window shirtless, city lights reflecting off his skin, tension in his shoulders like he was holding the world together with his hands. Sophia froze. He turned slowly. Their eyes met. Time stopped. "What are you doing awake?" he asked. "I couldn't sleep." He stepped closer, slow, deliberate, predatory. "You look restless." "I'm fine," she lied. "You're a terrible liar." She crossed her arms. "Stop analyzing me." His smirk faded. "Stop affecting me." Her breath caught. "What?" He stepped even closer, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. "Go to bed, Sophia," he said softly, voice tense. "Before I forget why I shouldn't touch my fiancé." Her heart slammed against her ribs. He was so close. "Too close," she whispered. "You wouldn't." His jaw tightened painfully. "Don't test me." Silence. Thick. Charged. Finally, Sophia stepped back, barely breathing. She turned and walked away, pulse racing, body burning. And behind her, Jaxon closed his eyes, whispering to himself, "Don't make me hurt you. Don't make me want you." But she already did. More than she would ever know. Chapter 20. Lines They Can't Uncross. Sophia woke early the next morning, determined not to let Jaxon see how much he affected her. She dressed sharply, white-fitted blouse, high-waisted skirt, heels that clicked like confidence on the marble floors. She was calm, composed, unbothered, or so she told herself. But when she stepped into the kitchen, she found Jaxon already there. Hair slightly tousled, black shirt unbuttoned at the collar, eyes heavy like he hadn't slept. He looked almost human. He looked almost like... No, she shut the thought down immediately. "Morning?" he said without looking up. His voice was deeper than usual, rough around the edges. She hated that it sent heat pooling low in her stomach. Morning," she muttered. She reached for the coffee pot. But so did he. Their hands brushed. A spark shot up her entire arm so hard she flinched. He felt it too. His jaw tightened. His hand froze. His eyes lifted to hers slowly. Too slowly. For a moment, neither moved. Neither breathed. Then, he pulled away abruptly. "Take it," he muttered. She grabbed the pot, pretending it didn't bother her. "Thank you," she said stiffly. "Don't mention it," he said with that little smirk. The smirk that made her want to throw her mug at him. Later that morning, they headed to a joint partnership meeting. Sophia sat at the long conference table, scanning documents. A new investor, handsome, confident, charming, took the seat next to her. "Ms. Lee," he greeted warmly. "It's a pleasure." She smiled politely. "Likewise." Jaxon entered moments later. His eyes immediately landed on Sophia and the investor beside her. His expression darkened. He said nothing, did nothing, but the air in the room shifted. When the investor leaned closer to whisper something to Sophia, Jaxon nearly broke his pen in half. Marcus leaned over and muttered under his breath, "If you keep glaring like that, you'll melt the table." Jaxon didn't respond. He couldn't. The moment the meeting ended, Sophia headed for the door. Jaxon caught her wrist. Again, firm, possessive. "Where do you think you're going?" She yanked her hand back. "To breathe." He stepped closer. That investor, why was he sitting so damn close? Sophia blinked at him. "Are you asking this as my business partner? Or my fiancé?" He clenched his jaw. "Both." "Well," she said sweetly, "neither has the right to control who I sit next to." He leaned in, voice low and dangerous. "Sophia, don't play with me." She held his gaze, trembling with frustration and something hotter. "I'm not playing anything." He stepped closer. "Too close. Always too close." "Then explain why you looked so comfortable with him." Sophia scoffed. "Are you jealous?" "Yes." The word slipped out faster than either expected. Jaxon froze. Sophia's breath caught. "What did you just say?" she whispered. He swallowed hard, backing away half a step. "I said it was unprofessional." "No," she said, stepping toward him for the first time. "You said yes." His eyes flickered with panic. The first real crack in his armor. "Sophia, drop it." "Why?" she whispered. "Because you don't want me to know you care?" His jaw tensed. "Because it's irrelevant." "Then why do you act like I'm yours?" she shot back. He inhaled sharply. Silence stretched, heavy, loaded. Jaxon reached out, slowly, and cupped her jaw with one hand. Her breath hitched. His thumb brushed her cheek. "You're not mine," he whispered. He was so close his breath warmed her lips. "You can't be mine." "Then stop touching me like I am," she whispered. He exhaled shakily. "I can't." Her knees went weak. Her hands lifted, almost touching his chest, almost giving in. He leaned closer, closer. Their lips brushed. Barely, just a ghost of a touch. Heat exploded through her, through him. He pressed his forehead to hers. His voice broke. "Sophia, stop me." She couldn't. She didn't want to. Her lips parted. But suddenly Jaxon pulled back like he'd been burned. His chest rose and fell rapidly. His eyes were wild, torn, tortured. "This can't happen," he said harshly. We're not that." Sophia blinked, breath shaking. "I hate you," she whispered, voice cracking. He stepped back farther, like distance was the only thing keeping him sane. "Good," he said. But his voice trembled. "It'll make everything easier." Then he left the room, quickly, before she could see the look in his eyes. The look of a man falling apart. Chapter 21. Clues in the Shadows. Sophia couldn't get the almost kiss out of her mind. Not because she wanted it. Though God help her, she had wanted it. But because of how it felt. Warm, familiar, like something she had known before her heart was shattered 5 years ago. She sat in her penthouse room that night, the city lights painting gold across her walls, clutching the crescent moon necklace she never took off. Jason's necklace. Her first love. Her heartbreak. Her ghost. Why did Jaxon's touch feel like a memory she had buried? She had asked that question too many times lately. And tonight, she decided she needed answers. Sophia began quietly digging into Jaxon Reed's background again. Something she hadn't done since before the engagement. But unlike last time, this wasn't professional curiosity. This time, it was personal. Too personal. Clue number 1, no records before age. The databases all repeated the same bizarre fact. Jaxon Reed appeared out of nowhere at 21 years old. No school history. No address history. Nothing from childhood. It was like the man didn't exist until 5 years ago. 5 years ago. The same year Jason died. Her heart throbbed painfully. Clue number 2, his accent and mannerisms. She began replaying every interaction in her head. The way he said her name. The way he grabbed her wrist, gentle but firm. The way he tilted his head when annoyed. The quiet sigh he sometimes made before speaking. The way he stepped in front of her protectively, even when pretending not to care. All things Jason had done. Memories overlapped like dissolving film. Her breath hitched. No, that's impossible. Jason was gone. Burned. Lost. She had seen the ashes. She had mourned. Yet her heart wouldn't stop whispering, what if? Clue number 3, the fire reports. This was the scariest part. Sophia visited an old contact, a friend whose father worked in the fire department. She asked casually for access to the Reeves house fire files, claiming she wanted closure. But as she flipped through the report, something made her blood run cold. Jason's body was never confirmed, only presumed. The heat had destroyed almost all trace. The remains they found were the mother's. Jason's status? Missing, probably deceased. Probably. Her hands shook. Her heartbeat roared in her ears. I'm being crazy, she whispered to herself. But the clues refused to stay quiet. When she returned to the penthouse that night, Jaxon was waiting. He sat on the couch, sleeves rolled up, glass of bourbon in his hand. When she entered, he looked up slowly. His gaze pinned her in place. Hold, controlled. Too dark tonight. We're moving the wedding date, he said simply. Sophia blinked. What? 2 weeks from now, he continued. The sooner the merger solidifies, the sooner both companies stabilize. Her chest tightened painfully. 2 weeks? That's insane. Necessary, he corrected. This is my life, she snapped. You can't just... Your family already agreed. Sophia froze. What? He took a slow sip. They knew it was coming. Rage flared in her chest. They don't get to decide when I get married. Jaxon stood, walked toward her. He stopped inches away. Too close, too warm, too familiar. His voice lowered. This marriage is a business move. Don't make it personal. Her eyes burned. Oh, so kissing me was business? Touching me was business? Wanting me was... I don't want you, he cut sharply. The pain that shot through her chest was instant. He saw it. For a split second, his mask cracked. Regret, pain, a flicker of something raw. He turned away quickly. It's better this way, he muttered. Sophia's voice trembled. Why are you running a wedding this fast? What are you trying to hide? He didn't answer. She took a step closer. Who are you, Jaxon? He froze. For a heartbeat. For a breath. She swore she saw Jason in his eyes. Then he shut down completely. I am the man you're marrying, he said coldly. That's all you need to know. Sophia's heart raced violently. No, she whispered. That's not all. Not anymore. He stiffened. Their eyes locked. And in that moment she knew. He was hiding something enormous. Something painful. Something tied to her past. Something tied to Jason. She opened her mouth. Heart pounding. Fear shaking her bones. She almost said it. Are you him? But Jaxon stepped away, cutting her off with a single command. Stay out of my past, Sophia. She went still. He didn't turn around. He didn't soften. But his voice, it broke. Only for a second. That part of me is dead. Sophia felt the truth in those words. But not the whole truth. Not yet. Chapter 22. The Wedding of Lies. The day came faster than Sophia ever imagined. Too fast. 2 weeks blurred into fittings. Rehearsals, signatures, and endless public interviews. She barely had time to breathe, let alone think. Or feel. Yet underneath the layers of silk and diamonds, her heart was fighting a war it couldn't win. She was about to marry Jaxon Reed, a man she didn't understand, a man she shouldn't want, a man who felt too much like a ghost she had tried to bury. The wedding was held at the grand Rosemont estate, a breathtaking garden palace surrounded by fountains, marble columns, and a sea of white roses. Everything was elegant, perfect, extravagant, everything except her heart. Sophia stood behind the ornate doors, veil draped delicately over her face, the crescent necklace hidden beneath her gown. Her mother fussed over her dress. You look stunning, sweetheart, she said proudly. This marriage will save everything. Sophia's stomach twisted. Her father squeezed her hands. Remember, this is the best decision you've made. No, this was the decision they made for her. The orchestra began playing softly. The doors opened, and her breath faltered. He stood at the altar, surrounded by flowers and golden light. Jaxon Reed, her fiancé, her business partner, her tormentor, her confusion. He wore a tailored black suit, his hair perfect, his expression unreadable, but his eyes, they locked onto her the moment she appeared, and something flickered in them. Something soft, something familiar, something he immediately crushed and hid, yet she saw it, even through the veil. Jason? She shook her head. No, not today, not now. Each step felt like wading through water. The world blurred into petals and chandeliers and whispers. Her heart pounded. Her palms sweated. Her throat tightened. Her father guided her forward proudly, oblivious to the storm inside her. When they reached the altar, Jaxon extended his hand. Her father placed hers into his. Her breath caught when Jackson's fingers closed around hers. Warm, firm, familiar. She tried to pull back. He tightened slightly, barely noticeable to anyone but her. You're shaking, he whispered softly, just for her ears. She hated that he noticed. I'm fine, she whispered. You're lying. His voice cracked. Just a little. The officiant began the ceremony. Sophia barely heard the words. She only heard her heartbeat. When it was her turn to recite the vows, her voice almost broke. Not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of what she was getting into. Fear of what he wasn't telling her. Fear of what she was starting to feel. And do you, Sophia Lee, take Jaxon Reed to be your husband? Sophia looked at Jaxon. He held her gaze. Hard, cold, and yet something trembled beneath. She whispered, I do. Her chest ached. Then it was his turn. And do you, Jaxon Reed? I do. He didn't hesitate. But his voice wasn't cold. It was tight. Too tight, like he was fighting something inside himself. You may now kiss the bride. Sophia stiffened. This wasn't a photo shoot. This wasn't staged for magazines. This was their wedding kiss. Their marriage. Their future. Every camera pointed at them. Jaxon lifted her veil slowly, his expression unreadable. Yet his eyes, God, his eyes looked almost sad. He cupped her cheek with one hand. Her breath caught. His thumb brushed her skin. Soft, gentle, protective, exactly like Jason used to do. Then he whispered, barely audible, "Don't look at me like that." She swallowed. "Like what?" He hesitated. "Like you know me." Before she could respond, he kissed her. And the world stopped. The kiss was supposed to be fake, public, cold, but his lips were warm, firm, lingering, like he forgot the audience, forgot the cameras, forgot the world. Sophia's knees weakened. His hand slid to the back of her neck, pulling her closer. Too close, too long, too tender. Her heart screamed. This is him. It feels like him. It feels like Jason. No, impossible. They pulled apart slowly. Her eyes were wide. His were darker than she'd ever seen. He whispered, "Don't ask questions you don't want answers to." She stepped back, confused, breathless, shaken. The crowd erupted in applause. But neither of them smiled. After the reception, the crowd pulled them apart. Sophia escaped to an empty corridor, finally breathing. Her necklace felt heavy against her chest. "Congratulations, Mrs. Reed." She turned sharply. Jaxon stood behind her, tie loosened, coat removed, shirt sleeves rolled up. He looked too human like this. Too familiar, too close to the boy she once loved. She glared. "Don't call me that." "You are," he said quietly. "For now." She stepped closer, eyes burning. "Why does your kiss feel like something I've known before?" He froze. Danger flashed in his eyes. She continued, breath shaky. "Why do your hugs feel like déjà vu? Why do your hands feel like—" "Sophia." His voice was a warning. Sharp, cold, scared. She didn't stop. "Why do I feel like I've loved you before?" Silence. He backed up. One step, another. For the first time, Jaxon Reed looked terrified. "You're imagining things," he finally whispered. "No," she said softly, fiercely. "I'm remembering." He swallowed hard. "You don't want the truth, and you don't want to say it." His eyes burned into hers. Pain. Memory? Grief. He turned away. "I told you," he said, voice breaking slightly. "That part of me is dead." But when he walked away, Sophia finally realized something. If that part of him was dead, then someone else had killed it, and she intended to find out who. Chapter 23, The First Strike. The wedding had barely ended before Jaxon returned to work. Not the work everyone expected. Not the partnership he had promised the world. But the real mission he had carried in his heart for 5 years. The mission born in ashes, grief, and the screams of a boy who lost everything. Destroy the Lees, piece by piece, slowly, silently, so they never see it coming. And now he had the perfect vantage point. Inside their family, inside their company, inside their lives. It was time to begin. Jaxon didn't strike loudly. Revenge done loudly was messy. Predictable. He moved like shadows. Quiet. Calculated. Invisible. Move number 1, cutting their alliances. Jaxon started with the easiest targets. The board members who already doubted the Lee's stability. A few private meetings, a few whispered concerns, a few incentives. Within days, 3 Lee Corporation allies resigned from their positions. Sophia's father panicked. "We just got married into the Reed family. Why are we losing support?" Sophia overheard the argument from her new office. Her stomach tightened. Something wasn't right. Move number 2, delaying shipments. Next, Jaxon ordered one of Reed Global's international shipping partners to reevaluate the contract terms with the Lee's distribution line. A simple request on paper. A devastating blow in practice. Lee products were delayed weeks from reaching major retailers. The buyers threatened to pull out. The press started whispering. Sophia's mother came to her office in tears. "All our work. Your grandmother's legacy. Sophia, everything is falling apart." Sophia held her, but inside she felt sick. Why now? Why so soon after the wedding? Why did everything feel like it was unraveling exactly where they were most vulnerable? She didn't know that the man she slept a hallway away from was pulling every string. Move number 3, internal sabotage. Jaxon entered the Lee Corporation headquarters with quiet authority. His presence alone made executives straighten their backs. Sophia watched him from across the room. The way people bowed their heads, deferred, stepped aside. He was power, cold, lethal power. On the surface, he was reviewing budgets, improving efficiency. But beneath the surface, he was strategically planting the seeds of collapse. reassigning key employees to projects destined to fail, redirecting funds to departments lacking structure, suggesting cost-cutting measures that weaken their operations, quietly blocking new investors from contacting them, all subtle, all invisible unless you knew where to look. And Sophia didn't know. Not yet, but she felt it in her bones. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. One evening, long after everyone left the building, Sophia sat alone at her desk, browsing through reports she hadn't had time to look at before. Declines, shortages, rejections, losses. Too many things were going downhill at once. And every pattern, every entry, every shift led back to Reed Global, led back to Jaxon. Her stomach dropped. No, he wouldn't. He had promised partnership. He had promised stability. He had promised to help. But her heart whispered something else. He's doing this. He's the cause. Why? She remembered the wedding kiss. How familiar it felt. How warm. His voice telling her, "That part of me is dead." Her breath shook. Was he trying to destroy her family? Was the engagement just another strategic move? Her hand trembled as she closed the report. "Who are you?" she whispered into the empty room. "And what do you want from us?" Meanwhile, in his penthouse office, Jaxon stood overlooking the city. Sophia's city, his graveyard, their battlefield. Marcus entered quietly. "It started," Marcus said. "They're struggling." Jaxon kept his eyes on the skyline. "Good. This is step 1, right?" Jaxon nodded. "We lift them just enough." His voice dropped into something dark, haunted. And then we pull the ground out from under them." Marcus hesitated. "Does she know anything yet?" Jackson's jaw tightened. "No." "Will she?" Jackson's voice was ice. "She can't." Marcus watched him carefully. "You're doing this to them, not to her, right?" Jaxon didn't answer, because he wasn't sure anymore. Later that night, she returned to the penthouse. Jaxon was sitting on the couch, tie loose, glass in hand, looking like a man carved from shadows and regret. Sophia stepped inside quietly. His eyes lifted to meet hers. She swallowed hard. "What exactly did you do today?" she asked. His expression didn't change. His heart did, but he kept his voice steady. "Business. That's not an answer." He tilted his head. "It's the only one I owe you." Her eyes burned. Her voice cracked with anger and fear. "You're planning something," she whispered. "I can feel it." He said nothing. She stepped closer, too close. "Jaxon, tell me the truth." He looked at her for a long, silent moment. His eyes, they looked almost wounded. "But then—" His walls slammed back into place. "You don't want the truth." Her breath hitched. "Yes," she whispered. "I do." He exhaled once. Sharp, cold. "No," he said quietly. "You want the illusion." And then he walked past her, leaving her alone in a home that suddenly felt like the beginning of the end. Chapter 24, The Night Before the End. For weeks, Sophia avoided him. She avoided the penthouse living room when he was home, avoided meetings he attended, avoided looking at him, speaking to him, breathing near him. She wanted nothing more than to stay out of his orbit, away from his shadows, his intensity, his secrets, away from the way he burned her alive just by looking at her. And for a while, she succeeded. Because Jaxon went away on a business trip. A trip Sophia slowly realized was not for work. It was for strategy, for the final blow, for the moment he had been planning since the fire that ruined his life. She felt it. Every night she stared out of the penthouse window alone. Every time she opened her laptop and saw another crack, forming in the Lee Corporation. Something was coming. Something terrible. It was late at night when she heard the elevator doors open. Footsteps, a suitcase rolling, a deep sigh from the foyer. She felt it before she saw him. Jaxon was home. Sophia stepped out of her room slowly, cautiously, like approaching a storm. He looked exhausted, shirt undone at the collar, hair slightly messy, eyes shadowed. When he saw her, he froze. Then something softened in him. Dangerously so, Sophia. Her heart clenched at how he said her name. Quiet, almost like he missed her. She crossed her arms to hide the tremble. "You're back." "I am." Silence, thick, heavy. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. "Wait." She turned back. For once, he looked almost human, like Jaxon Reed had slipped away for a second, and someone else stared at her. Someone she knew. "Can we talk?" he asked softly. Sophia hesitated. For weeks she'd waited to scream at him, to demand answers, to walk out. But right now, she was tired. So tired. Okay. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. For a while, neither spoke. Finally, Jaxon whispered, "I know you've been avoiding me." Sophia's eyes lowered. "I needed space." I noticed. She expected coldness, arrogance, mockery, but his tone was gentle. It disarmed her completely. "Why did you come talk to me?" she asked quietly. He looked at her like he didn't know how to answer. "I don't know," he exhaled. "Maybe I just needed to see you." Her chest tightened painfully. This wasn't Jaxon Reed talking, not the cold CEO, not the calculating mastermind. This was someone else, someone she had known. She whispered his name before she could stop herself. "Jason?" He flinched. Hard. Sophia's breath caught. Sorry, she stuttered. He looked away quickly. "You're misremembering," but his voice wavered. She swallowed the ache and changed the subject. "I don't know what's happening anymore, Jaxon." He turned back to her slowly, something raw in his expression. "I don't either," he whispered, and the world cracked open, because that was the closest he had ever come to admitting he felt anything. Sophia moved closer before she realized it. He didn't stop her. He met her halfway, 1 inch at a time. Their foreheads touched first. Then his hand slid to the back of her neck. Gentle, familiar. Then his lips. Soft, slow, desperate, like he had been starving for her for years. Sophia's hands tangled in his shirt. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. It wasn't cold this time. It wasn't controlled. It was real. Too real. They didn't stop. Couldn't. The world fell away as they stumbled into his room. Kissing, breathing hard, clinging to each other like drowning souls. And that night, they finally gave in to everything they'd been fighting. The anger, the longing, the grief, the truth they didn't speak. Their bodies tangled in the dark. Their hearts beat far too loud. It felt like home, like the past returning, like the boy she loved and the man she feared merging into one. Sophia didn't know if she fell asleep or just succumbed to exhaustion. But deep in her heart, a truth had begun to scream. Sophia woke up first. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, painting warmth across the sheets. Jaxon slept beside her, brow relaxed, breathing steady, looking peaceful for the first time since she met him. Her heart squeezed. Slowly, she slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him. She grabbed her robe and looked around the room. It was the first time she'd really taken it in, and that's when she noticed. A broken picture frame in the drawer, a book with handwriting in the margins she recognized, a small box with old keychains, one identical to the one she bought. Jason in high school, a charm bracelet she made Jason for his 15th birthday, a nearly faded school ID with the name scratched off, but the face unmistakably his. Sophia's breath left her body. Her knees nearly buckled. "No," she whispered. She pulled open another drawer. A burnt wallet, a dried hospital band, a photo half-burned, of Jason and Sophia, arms around each other, smiling. Her heart shattered. Completely, irreversibly. It was him. Jaxon Reed was Jason Reeves. She pressed a hand over her mouth, trying not to scream. Tears flooded her eyes. All the signs, all the clues, all the familiarity. He was alive. He had risen from the ashes, and he came back for revenge. Not for her, not for love, but for destruction. Her parents, her family, her company. She suddenly remembered the date. Today, his final trip, his coldness, his muttered, "This part of me is dead," and her stomach dropped into nothingness. Oh God, what has he done? Her phone rang. She answered with trembling hands. It was her father. "Sophia!" he shouted in panic. We're being arrested." Her blood froze. "What? Why?" "Securities fraud, embezzlement, contracts. Jaxon, he set us up." Sophia dropped the phone. Her vision blurred. Her world collapsed. Right there on Jackson's bedroom floor, surrounded by the evidence of the boy she once loved and the man he had become. The door opened behind her. Jaxon stood there, fully dressed, expression unreadable, mask back on. She stared at him through tears. "You're Jason," she whispered. He didn't speak. "You're Jason," she sobbed. "And you destroyed my family." He clenched his jaw. Pain flashed in his eyes, but he crushed it instantly. Then he said, voice like ice breaking, "They destroyed mine." Sophia's heart broke. For him. For herself. For the war neither of them asked for. But what about us? She choked. There is no us, he said quietly. And those 4 words hurt worse than any revenge he had planned. Chapter 25. The Truth That Breaks Them. Sophia stood frozen on the bedroom floor, surrounded by the pieces of Jason's life. The life Jaxon tried to bury but never really could. Her heart pounded so violently it hurt. Her father's panicked voice still echoed in her mind. Her family arrested. Her world collapsing. And the man responsible stood only a few feet away. Jaxon. Both. Neither. He watched her silently, jaw tense, chest rising and falling in controlled breaths. The air between them felt like glass. One wrong move and everything would shatter. Sophia rose slowly to her feet. Her voice was small, broken. Why? Jackson's throat flexed, but he said nothing. She took a shaky step closer, holding out the burnt photograph from his drawer. This is you, she whispered. My Jason, my everything. His eyes closed, as if the name itself stabbed him. Jason is dead, he muttered. No, she cried, grabbing his shirt with trembling hands. You are him. You're right here, breathing, alive. He pulled her hands off him gently, but firmly. The rejection stung like fire. I'm not that boy anymore. Then who are you? She screamed. He met her gaze, cold, dark, hurting. I'm the man your family created. Those words stole her breath. She stepped back, shaking her head in disbelief. My parents didn't know it would kill your father. They were trying to scare you two apart, not destroy us? He snapped, eyes blazing. They threatened us, ruined us, bankrupted my father. And when it broke him, your parents turned away like he didn't matter. Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. That wasn't my fault, she whispered. He flinched. That's the worst part, he said quietly. You were the only thing that wasn't my fault. Her breath caught. You think this is easy for me? She cried. I lost you too. I thought you died in that fire. I blamed myself. I hated myself. Every day! For the first time, his mask cracked. His voice lowered. I know. She moved closer, desperate, heart in pieces. Why didn't you come to me? She sobbed. Why didn't you tell me you were alive? He stepped back, as if her touch burned. Because I didn't want you to save me. Her tears fell harder. But I could have. No, he whispered. You would have stopped me. She stared at him, horrified. So you married me? To get close enough to destroy us? Yes. A knife to her chest. You slept with me. His jaw clenched painfully. Because of revenge. Silence. Deep, suffocating silence. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Her heart cracked. Completely. Sophia covered her mouth, sobbing uncontrollably. He watched her. Not with victory, not with satisfaction, but with devastation he tried to hide. I loved you, she choked. I loved you more than anything. And you made me believe you hated me. His eyes closed. I had to, he whispered. If I didn't, I would have forgiven you. That destroyed her. She grabbed his shoulders, voice cracking. You were Jason. You loved me. You still love me. I can see it. I feel it. Stop, he hissed, stepping away violently. Don't say that. Why? She cried. Because it's true? Because it makes everything harder. His voice broke. I spent years becoming this man, this monster, to get justice. If you say you still love me, if you say my name, his voice cracked painfully. I don't know if I can finish what I started. Sophia stared at him. For a moment, he didn't look like Jaxon Reed. He looked like Jason Reeves, the boy she kissed under the oak tree, the boy who gave her a crescent necklace, the boy who held her during thunderstorms. Her voice was a soft, trembling whisper. Jason? He snapped. He lunged forward, slamming his hand against the wall beside her head. Don't call me that. She didn't flinch. She looked him straight in the eyes. You're still him. He grabbed her chin roughly. Not enough to hurt, but enough to show his desperation. Jason died in that fire, he growled. Sophia lifted her hand and gently touched his cheek. A touch that made him shudder. And I loved both of you, she whispered. His breath caught. His grip loosened. His forehead pressed against hers. His voice broke. Sophia. He exhaled shakily. If you keep talking like that, I'll burn the world down trying to protect you, Sophia whispered through tears. You already burned mine down. Jackson's eyes shut tight. Pain, regret, terror, love, all fighting at once. He stepped back suddenly. Too suddenly, as if touching her was killing him. "Go," he forced out. "Leave before I destroy what little is left." "No," she said fiercely. "I'm not leaving you." "You should," he whispered. "You should hate me." "I do," she sobbed. "And that's why it hurts so much." He swallowed hard, then said the words that shattered everything. "I'm finishing this. Today." Sophia's breath vanished. "No, Jaxon, please." But he was already walking away, already putting the final blow into motion, already becoming the man he swore the fire turned him into. Sophia fell to her knees, sobbing, because she knew the boy she loved was alive, but the man he became was about to destroy everything she still had left. Chapter 26. The Lawsuit. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. Cameras flashed. Sirens wailed. Police escorted Sophia's parents in handcuffs past a sea of journalists shouting questions. "Mr. Lee, did you embezzle funds from your investors? Mrs. Lee, were you aware of the fraudulent transactions? Is it true Reed Global is leading the lawsuit?" Sophia watched the chaos from the back seat of a black town car, hands shaking so violently she could barely breathe. Her parents, arrested, destroyed, publicly humiliated, because of him. Because of Jason Reeves, because of Jaxon Reed, because of the boy who loved her, and the man who came back to destroy her world. Her husband, her curse, her protector, her ruination. A Reed Global attorney slid into the front passenger seat, adjusting his glasses. "Mrs. Reed," he said politely, "we've confirmed the charges will not apply to you." Sophia looked up sharply. "What?" "The lawsuit targets the Lee Corporation and its executive board. You are exempt." Her voice cracked. "Why?" The attorney glanced back at her calmly. "You're a Reed." The words stabbed deeper than any knife. Her parents faced prison, facing financial ruin, facing the destruction of everything they built. And she? She was shielded, protected, because Jaxon planned it that way. Because the moment she married him, she was legally severed from the Lees, part of his plan. Every step, every move, every touch. Tears filled her eyes, blurring everything. "Oh my God," she whispered, voice trembling. He planned this down to the last detail. The attorney said nothing. He didn't need to. The trap was perfect. Inside the courthouse, Jaxon stood calmly in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Cold, collected, untouchable. Lawyers and executives swarmed him for updates, but he dismissed most of them with a flick of his hand. Everything was moving exactly how he intended. Years of planning, years of rage, years of sleepless nights, all converging today. Marcus approached quietly. "It's done," he said. "They're being arraigned now." Jaxon nodded once. "And Sophia?" Marcus asked. Jackson's jaw tightened. "She's safe." Marcus hesitated. "Safe from the law, or safe from you?" Jackson's silence was answer enough. Sophia arrive. When Sophia stepped into the courthouse lobby, the entire room shifted. Not because she was a Lee, because she was a Reed. Jaxon turned as soon as he sensed her. Her eyes were red, her breathing uneven, her hands trembling. His chest tightened, but his face stayed cold. She approached him, slowly, like walking toward a cliff's edge. When she reached him, she whispered in a shaking voice, "You did this." His jaw flexed. "Yes." "My parents are in chains," she cried. "In chains, Jaxon! And you're the only one who can free them." He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't soften. "That depends," he said quietly. "On you." Her heart dropped. "What does that mean?" She breathed. He stepped closer. Too close. A whisper from her lips. "Your cooperation," he said. "Your silence. Your loyalty. You want to own me? I want justice." Sophia shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No," she whispered. "This isn't justice. This is cruelty." His eyes flickered. Painfully. "Justice," he repeated, voice soft but lethal, "is never gentle." She tried to steady her breathing. "Drop the charges," she begged. "Please, I'm your wife. I'm asking you, please." Jaxon leaned in until his forehead almost touched hers. "You're a Reed now," he murmured. "You're not on their side." Sophia staggered back as if struck. Her voice cracked. "I didn't know who you were. And now you do. You tricked me. You married me willingly. You manipulated me. You left me. he snapped, voice suddenly raw. The explosion caught them both off guard. Silence fell between them. He recovered quickly, but the slip was fatal. Sophia saw it. The truth beneath the ice. The boy she loved. The boy who thought she abandoned him. Her voice softened. Jason? She reached for him. Please talk to me. Not like Jaxon, not like a CEO, as you, as who you were. His breath faltered. His eyes softened for half a second. Just enough to break her. But then he stepped back. Walls slamming up. Mask returning, voice flat. Mrs. Reed, he said coldly. Your parents will remain in custody until further notice. Sophia's heart shattered. Are you serious? She whispered. He didn't blink. Completely. She covered her mouth, sobbing. I hate you, she cried. This time he didn't smirk. Didn't tease. He just looked at her with eyes full of agony and emptiness. I know. And when she turned and ran, he didn't stop her. He just watched. Because this was the victory he fought years to achieve. And yet, it tasted like ashes. Courtroom. The Lees were escorted into a private holding room inside the courthouse. A cold, sterile space with gray walls and metal chairs. Sophia's father looked furious. Her mother was crying quietly into her hands. They had been stripped of their titles, their power, their prestige. No cameras here, no board members, no allies. Only two parents, facing the consequences of the power. Games they once wielded so confidently. The door clicked open. Footsteps echoed. And then, he walked in. Jaxon Reed, the powerful CEO who destroyed their empire. The man they believed they controlled through marriage. But when he stepped forward, the fluorescent light hit his face at a certain angle. Sharper jaw, matured features, colder eyes. But unmistakably, Jaxon Reeves. Sophia's mother gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Sophia's father went white as a ghost. Jaxon stood still, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. The silence was suffocating. Finally, Mr. Lee whispered, barely audible. Jason? Jaxon didn't answer immediately. He just stared at them. Cold, unforgiving. Her mother started shaking. No, you died. We were told you died. You were told what you needed to hear, Jaxon said quietly. His voice was deeper than Jason's, more controlled, more dangerous. But the cadence, the underlying bitterness, was unmistakable. Mrs. Lee burst into sobs. Mr. Lee stood from his chair, gripping the table for support. You're alive, he said, voice cracking with disbelief. You're alive? Jaxon tilted his head, slowly like a predator. Disappointed? Mr. Lee's breath caught. No, Jason, we didn't want... His voice failed him. Jaxon let the silence punish them before speaking again. You didn't want me dead, he said softly. Just ruined. Mrs. Lee sobbed harder. We didn't think... Her voice broke. I know, Jaxon snapped. That's the problem. You never thought. Mr. Lee tried to straighten his posture, but his voice shook. Jason, listen. Your father's company, things were complicated. Your relationship with Sophia was innocent, Jaxon said, cutting him sharply. But you couldn't stand the thought of your daughter loving someone beneath her. Mrs. Lee lowered her head, ashamed. Jackson's voice dropped into a chilling whisper. So you threatened us, sabotaged us, bankrupted my father. And when he hung himself from the stress you caused... Mrs. Lee sobbed so violently she almost collapsed. Stop, please, don't. You walked away like nothing happened, Jaxon finished coldly. Mr. Lee's face twisted in anguish. That was never our intention. Intentions don't bring back the dead. Jaxon stepped closer, eyes burning. You broke him. He leaned closer, voice dropping like venom. And you broke me. Mrs. Lee stumbled forward, shaking. Jason, I'm sorry, she whispered, reaching for him. Jaxon stepped back sharply, as if her touch was poison. You don't get to apologize and erase what you did. Mr. Lee swallowed hard. If we could take it back. But you didn't, Jaxon said, voice calm but deadly. You destroyed everything I had. He looked at both of them, both trembling, both facing him as if facing a ghost. His voice lowered. I crawled out of that fire. I buried my mother. I built myself from ashes. And every step I took, I remembered what you cost me. Mrs. Lee sobbed into her hands again. Mr. Lee's throat tightened. And Sophia? He whispered. You married her. To get to us? Jaxon didn't blink. Yes. Mrs. Lee crumbled to the floor. Mr. Lee's face turned ashen. "But she loves you," he whispered. Jackson's jaw tightened. "She doesn't even know who I am." "She does now," Mr. Lee murmured. Silence. Jaxon didn't respond. Because it was true. Mr. Lee forced himself to stand tall again, his pride shattered, but his voice steady. "Jason, if you want to punish us, do it. We deserve it." Mrs. Lee sobbed harder but didn't interrupt. Mr. Lee continued, "But not her. Please, don't destroy Sophia. She wasn't part of this. She loved you. She still loves you." Jackson's throat worked, but he didn't speak. Mrs. Lee lifted her face, tears streaked. "Please, Jason," she whispered. "Hate us. Punish us. But don't hurt our daughter." Jackson's mask cracked, just for a breath. Then it returned, harder than ever. "Your daughter married a Reed," he said coldly. "She is untouched by your crimes." Mr. Lee bowed his head in shame. Mrs. Lee sobbed, whispering thank yous through her tears. But Jackson's voice cut through the room like ice. "Do not mistake protection for mercy," he said. "Sophia is safe because she was never my target." He turned to leave. "But you—" His gaze hardened. "You will face everything you did." He walked out, leaving the Lees shattered and shaking, and leaving Sophia with the unbearable truth. The man she loved came back from the dead, not to return to her, but to destroy the people who raised her. Chapter 28. The Breaking Point. Sophia had begged him. She had fallen to her knees in the penthouse, tears streaming down her face, gripping his sleeves with shaking hands. "Please, Jackson, please drop the charges. Please, don't take their lives away. Don't destroy what's left. I'm begging you." Her voice cracked, raw and desperate. But Jackson stood like stone, cold, still, unmovable. "No," he said quietly. "They deserve this." Sophia sobbed harder. "And what about me?" she whispered. "Do I deserve this?" His jaw tightened. "You aren't being charged." "That's not what I mean," she cried. She meant the torture, the betrayal, the loss, the pain of sleeping next to the man who burned her world down. But Jaxon couldn't answer, because the truth hurt more than the lie. After that day, Sophia stopped speaking to him entirely. She stayed in her room, door locked, curtains closed. Her meals remained untouched on trays outside her door, food cold, later thrown away. She stopped attending meetings, stopped caring about the company, stopped answering calls from friends. She became a ghost of herself. And it killed him. He heard her crying through the walls at night. He heard her whisper Jason's name when she thought no one listened. He heard her pacing, restless, sleepless, tortured. Every sound pierced him. He had waited 5 years to break the Lees, but he never planned to break her. Not Sophia. Never Sophia. Yet she was cracking in front of him piece by piece. And the worst part? It was his fault. One night, he found the bathroom light on in her room. The door was half open. Sophia was sitting on the cold tile floor, hair messy, eyes hollow, hands trembling uncontrollably. She hadn't eaten in days. Her phone was smashed, her knees pulled to her chest, her breathing shallow. And next to her, the crescent necklace he gave her years ago, the chain twisted in her fingers. Tight, painfully tight. She looked so small, so broken, so unlike the fierce, bright girl who used to drag him into mischief behind the school track. Jackson's heart clenched. "Stop," he whispered to himself. "Don't touch her. Don't go in. She doesn't want you." But his feet moved anyway. He knelt in front of her slowly. She didn't look up. "Have you eaten?" he asked quietly. No response. "Have you slept?" Silence. He reached out cautiously and touched her hand. She flinched violently like he burned her. His chest cracked open. "Sophia." She finally lifted her face, and the moment their eyes met, he felt something inside him shatter. She looked lifeless, empty, like the light he loved in her had been extinguished. "You got what you wanted," she whispered. Her voice was brittle, broken. "You destroyed everything I had." "Not you," he said, pained. "I never wanted to destroy you." Her lips trembled. "But you did." He swallowed hard, his throat tight, his voice breaking. "Sophia, please. Eat something. Sleep. I'll call a doctor." "I don't want help," she whispered. "I just want them back." Her voice cracked. "I want my parents. I want my family. I want my life before you." He flinched as if stabbed. "And I want Jason back," she whispered, tears falling. He closed his eyes, pain cutting through him. "You can't keep living like this," he whispered. She looked away. "Then fix what you broke." The words hit him harder than any punch, because she wasn't blaming him as Jaxon. She was blaming him as Jason, and that was a wound deeper than revenge ever could heal. He sat back against the wall, defeated. This wasn't victory. This wasn't justice. This wasn't closure. He had become the same kind of monster that ruined him, and he realized it the moment he saw Sophia fall apart. His voice came out low and shaking. "Sophia, I don't want to be them." She blinked, confused and exhausted. "What?" He leaned forward, gently taking the necklace from her trembling fingers. "I don't want to become the people who hurt me." His voice cracked for the first time. "I don't want to be a man who destroys you." Sophia's lip quivered. He placed the necklace gently over her palm, his voice barely a whisper. "Everything I've done, it was for him, for the boy I used to be. But seeing you like this, hurting because of me, it feels wrong. It feels worse than anything your parents ever did to mine." A tear slipped from his eye despite him trying to hide it. Sophia stared, stunned. She had never seen him break before, never heard his voice like that, never seen the mask fall so completely. He whispered quietly, "I lost myself in revenge, but I can't lose you too." Sophia's breath hitched. For the first time in weeks, she looked at him not with hatred, but with heartbreak. "Jaxon," she whispered. But he shook his head. "No," he said softly. "You deserve Jason." Silence. Heavy. Painful. Hopeful. He took a deep breath. "I'll fix it," he whispered. "I'll fix everything I broke." Sophia pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, hope and fear swirling in her eyes. And for the first time since the fire, Jaxon Reeves began to rise inside him again. Chapter 29. The Undoing. Jaxon didn't sleep. Not after seeing Sophia curled on the bathroom floor. Not after hearing her whisper, "I want Jason back." Not after feeling the weight of what he'd done settle onto his chest like a crushing boulder. He stared at the city from the penthouse windows as night bled into dawn. For 5 years he had imagined this moment. The downfall of the Lees, the justice he believed he deserved, the revenge he thought would put his ghost to rest. None of those fantasies ever included Sophia weeping on a cold tile floor. None of them prepared him for the feeling that revenge was poisoning him from the inside. By sunrise he had made his choice. Not as Jaxon Reed, but as Jason Reeves. At 7:12 a.m., Jaxon walked into his private office at Reed Global. Marcus was already there. "You look like hell," Marcus said. "I am," Jaxon muttered. "Sit down." Marcus blinked. "What's going on?" Jaxon picked up the phone. "I'm dropping the lawsuit." Marcus shot to his feet. "What?" "You heard me. Jaxon, this was your life's mission. Your entire plan, My mistake," Jaxon cut in, voice cold but weary. "I'm not destroying Sophia to punish her parents." Marcus exhaled slowly. "You're doing this for her." Jaxon didn't deny it. Marcus studied him and finally nodded. "Then we'll fix it." By noon, the courthouse was buzzing. Lawyers paced. Reporters fought for space. Executives whispered rumors of mergers collapsing and markets shaking. The Lees were brought into the courtroom again. This time without chains, though still exhausted and terrified. Sophia sat in the back, jaw clenched, fingers twisted together. She refused to look up when Jaxon entered. He didn't expect her to. He walked to the front with the confidence of a man who controlled the entire room. "Your Honor," Jaxon said calmly, "Reed Global is withdrawing all charges against the Lee Corporation." Gasps filled the room. Sophia froze. Her parents stared at him in shock. Even the judge blinked twice. "You're withdrawing the lawsuit?" The judge repeated. "Yes." "And the reason?" Jaxon hesitated for a fraction of a second. "Because the purpose of justice is not to destroy innocent people in the crossfire." Sophia's eyes shot up. For the first time, she really saw him. Not the CEO or the enemy, but the boy she loved, Jason. Her breath shook. The judge nodded. "Very well. If the plaintiff withdraws, the charges are dismissed." Sophia's mother collapsed into tears. Her father bowed his head, relief shaking through him. "But then, there is one condition," the judge continued. "The Lee family is barred from owning or operating any business ventures for 7 years due to the ongoing civil inquiries initiated by the state." Silence. The Lees were free, but powerless. A 7-year ban, a punishment, a restriction, but not destruction. Sophia felt tears fall down her cheeks. Her parents weren't going to prison. They weren't going to lose their lives. And Jaxon had done that. He saved them, even after everything. The courtroom emptied slowly. Her parents were escorted to sign release documents, shaking and emotional. Sophia stood alone near one of the stone pillars, clutching her necklace, breathing unevenly. Jaxon approached quietly. She didn't run this time. She didn't hide. When he stood in front of her, she finally whispered, "You dropped the charges." He nodded once. "You were hurting," he said quietly. "And I couldn't—" He swallowed. "I didn't want to be the reason you broke." Her eyes softened and filled with tears. "Why?" she whispered. "After everything you planned, why?" His voice barely carried. "Because I realized the only person I've ever wanted to protect was the one I was destroying." Her breath hitched. The truth she needed, the truth she feared, was right there, unhidden. He continued, "I promised myself I wouldn't be like the people who ruined my family. But somewhere along the way, I became them." He stepped closer. "I'm sorry, Sophia." Her tears spilled, but she stayed perfectly still. Then she whispered, "You didn't forgive them, did you?" His jaw tightened. "No. And you still hate what they did to you?" "Yes. But you stopped the revenge anyway." He nodded. "For you." She closed her eyes, a tear rolling down her cheek. "You saved them," she whispered. "You saved the people who destroyed you." "No," he corrected softly. "I saved you." And that broke her, completely. She lunged forward, collapsing into his chest, sobbing. Not from pain, but from the unbearable relief, and the shock, and the realization that Jaxon still lived inside the man who once wanted to ruin her. Jaxon held her tightly, not with possession, not with anger, but with a quiet desperation he hadn't allowed himself in years. He buried his face in her hair. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm still here." And for the first time since the fire, Sophia believed him. Chapter 30. Picking up the pieces. The courthouse was behind them. The screaming reporters, the accusations, the heartbreak. But the damage remained. The Lees were free, but they walked out of the courtroom changed. Shaken, humbled, and stripped of the empire they once ruled. 7 years. 7 years without business. 7 years without control. 7 years with their mistakes laid bare. Sophia walked beside them, silent, supporting her mother, holding her father's trembling hand. They didn't say anything. Not in the car, not in the elevator, not even when they got home. They were broken in their own way. And Sophia was broken in hers. When Sophia returned to the penthouse that night, she didn't know what she was expecting. Empty silence, cold glares, walls made of ice. Instead, she found Jaxon in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, staring into a cup of untouched coffee, like he'd been sitting there for hours, thinking, regretting, hurting. He looked up the moment her footsteps echoed through the room. Their eyes met. There was no anger, no coldness, no mask, just exhaustion and raw, quiet emotion. He stood slowly, unsure, hesitant, almost afraid. "Sophia," he said softly. The gentleness in his voice nearly shattered her. She swallowed hard. "I'm tired," she whispered. He nodded, looking at the floor. "So am I." She expected him to walk away. Instead, he stepped toward her carefully, as if approaching a wounded animal. "Do you want to talk?" he asked. Her heart squeezed. "I don't know what I want," she murmured honestly. "That's okay." Silence settled between them. Not the angry kind, not the suffocating kind. A soft one, a tired one, a healing one. Sophia moved toward the couch. Jaxon followed, keeping a respectful distance. She sat at one end. He sat at the other. For a moment, neither spoke. Then quietly, she said, "You saved them." He stared at the floor. "I saved you." Sophia's eyes softened. "My parents were wrong," she whispered. "They were cruel. Thoughtless. They made mistakes I can't excuse." He didn't look up. "But so did I," she continued. That made him finally lift his gaze. His voice was low. "You didn't do anything, Sophia. I fell in love with you," she said. "And they punished your family for it." Jaxon's face twisted with pain. "That wasn't your fault." "It doesn't matter," she whispered. "I still feel responsible." A long silence. Then he said the most unexpected thing. "I forgive you." Her breath caught. The words hit her deeper than she expected. "You do?" He nodded. "I've always forgiven you." Sophia blinked back tears. "What about my parents?" she whispered. His jaw tightened. "I don't forgive them," he said honestly. "And I don't know if I ever will." She nodded slowly. "I won't ask you to." He exhaled, relieved. Sophia shifted, turning toward him slightly. "You didn't have to drop the lawsuit," she said softly. "Yes," he whispered. "I did." "Why?" He hesitated. "Then, because revenge felt good, until I saw what it was doing to you." Her breath shook. He continued quietly. "I thought destroying them would heal me, but it only broke you." Silence. Warm, painful, honest. Sophia wiped her cheeks with her sleeve. "Thank you," she whispered. His chest tightened. She reached out, hesitantly, and touched his hand. He froze. Slowly he closed his fingers around hers. Their hands fit exactly the way they used to. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Does this mean we're okay?" Sophia shook her head gently. "I don't know." He swallowed hard. "But I want to try." Her voice softened. "I want to understand you again. Not the CEO, not the man built on revenge, but the boy I used to love." Jackson's breath hitched. He leaned closer, just an inch. "You still love him?" he asked quietly. Sophia's heart twisted painfully. "I never stopped." His eyes glistened with something he couldn't hide, but she added softly, "That doesn't mean I know how to love the man you became." He looked down. "I can try," he whispered. She nodded. "I know." Another quiet stretch of silence flowed between them. This time she reached for his hand first. He squeezed gently. No kisses, no heat, no pulling, no smirking, just warmth and truth. Two broken people trying to put their pieces back together. Sophia leaned her head lightly on his shoulder. He went completely still, then slowly relaxed, letting the moment wash over him. Her voice came out soft, sleepy, fragile. "Let's just sit here. No revenge. No pain. Just us." His heart clenched so painfully he almost gasped, but he nodded. "Just us," he murmured. And for the first time since they were teenagers under a summer sky, they sat together, in peace and in possibility. Not healed, not whole, but willing. Chapter 31. Under the Old Oak Tree. Weeks passed in a quiet, delicate rhythm. Jaxon drowned himself in work. Meeting after meeting. Late nights, early mornings, paperwork and boardrooms and endless distractions. He returned to the man he had built himself into. The CEO with iron discipline, and a heart locked behind steel walls. He didn't come home for dinners. Didn't stop to talk. Didn't reach for her in the hallways. He gave Sophia space, but the silence grew louder each day. Sophia stayed in her own world too. Healing, thinking, hurting. She didn't know what he wanted. Did he still hate her? Did he regret saving the Lees? Did he want a divorce? Did he want distance forever? Every night she lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Rinsed with exhaustion, her heart heavy. She wanted answers. But she was afraid of what he might say. Until one quiet Sunday morning, he knocked on her door. Gently, hesitantly. "Sophia?" he said softly. "Come for a drive with me." Her breath caught. A drive? Now? After weeks of silence? She grabbed a sweater and followed him. The morning sun was soft and gold, draping the car interior in warmth. Jaxon drove quietly, eyes on the road, jaw relaxed but serious. He didn't speak. The gentle hum of the engine and the rhythm of the road lulled. Sophia's tired eyes closed. She hadn't slept well in weeks. For the first time in so long, she felt safe enough to drift off. Jaxon noticed. He softened. He turned down the air conditioning, tilted her seat back just a little, slowed the car when the road allowed. He watched her from the corner of his eye. She looked so peaceful, so fragile, so Sophia. His chest tightened painfully. He kept driving. Sophia woke to silence, a breeze, birdsong, the scent of grass and earth. She blinked her eyes open slowly. They weren't in the city. They were parked beneath an enormous, familiar oak tree, its branches wide and protective, its leaves dancing gently in the sunlight. Her breath hitched. "The oak tree," she whispered. Their oak tree, where Jason first kissed her, where he gave her the necklace, where they carved their initials into the bark, where they made teenage promises under summer skies. Memories flooded her so quickly she felt dizzy. Sophia turned and Jaxon was watching her. not with Jackson's cold, measured gaze, but with Jason's eyes. Soft, nervous, hopeful, hurt, alive. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Why did you bring me here?" she whispered. He stepped out of the car, walked around, and opened her door. Then he held out his hand, just like he used to. Sophia's legs trembled as she took it. They walked toward the tree. Silence wrapped around them. Not painful, not awkward, but warm, home. Under the canopy of leaves, Jaxon finally spoke. "Sophia." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry." Her breath hitched. He swallowed hard, looking up at the branches. "I lost myself. In the fire. In the anger. In the grief. I became someone who hurt you, when you were the only person in my life who ever treated me like I mattered." Her eyes stung. He looked at her then. Really looked. "I wanted revenge," he admitted softly. "But I never wanted to lose you." His voice broke. "I can't lose you again." Sophia covered her mouth as tears fell. He stepped closer. "I'm not asking you to forget what I did," he whispered. "And I'm not asking you to pretend this is easy." He took another step. "But I'm asking for a chance." His voice softened to a tremble. "A chance to be Jason again. For you." Her chest tightened so painfully she could barely breathe. "Jason," she whispered, voice shaking. "I missed you. I missed you every day." He closed his eyes, emotion overwhelming him. "And I love you," she continued, crying openly now. "I loved you then. I loved you even when you were gone, and I tried so hard not to love you now. But I do." Jackson's breath shuddered. He cupped her cheeks gently, not with Jackson's cold precision, but with Jason's trembling tenderness. "Do you forgive me?" he breathed. Sophia closed her eyes. The wind brushed her hair. The oak leaves rustled like a memory. She opened her eyes, tears shimmering. "Yes," she whispered. "I forgive you." His face broke. Relief, heartbreak, hope all flooding at once. He leaned down and kissed her. Soft, slow, trembling. Not the powerful CEO, not the vengeful ghost, but the boy who fell in love with her beneath this very tree. She melted into him, arms wrapping around his neck, their hearts beating like they finally found their rhythm again. When they pulled away, foreheads touching, breath mingling, Sophia whispered, "Let's start over." Jackson smiled. A real smile. "I'd like that," he said gently. "Hi, I'm Jaxon Reeves, and I'm still in love with you." She laughed through her tears. "And I'm Sophia Lee, and I never stopped." He kissed her again, deeper this time. Healing, loving, promising. Under the old oak tree where it all began. They began again, together. Sophia tried to sleep. She couldn't.